Nigeria, members of the high table, ladies
Do you want to wash it? No, just say that to be clear for those who are not.
Okay, so to be very clear, just for those who joined us earlier on, this is not the event of today. The Freedom Park Proclamation clip that we are showing right now is just to give you the
Good afternoon, good morning, good every time, everybody. Welcome you to this program today. Lively. What a day today. It's been madness all over the world today because so many things is happening. And we finally take over. We finally at last take over. The clips you're about to watch is just a background introduction to what is happening today. Force majeure. I want to actually explain what force majeure is actually at the beginning of everything, so that some people knows what we're talking about, because there's no point in talking about this and you don't even have a clue about what we're talking about. So the best thing to do is just to go back to basics and in a layman language determine what is about to happen and what is going on and what is actually the reason for this. When the whole proclamation finish, we have the opportunity to ask some few questions. We will have the opportunity to ask some few questions. The international media community will be asking questions today, and so many things will be going on and so many things will be happening. So listen, gentlemen, bear with us. We're trying to fix everything to make sure it works, and it will works. What is force majeure clause in a contract? Nigeria exists as a mere contract between the zones, the geographical zones that actually make up the country called Nigeria. So today there's so many things that's going to happen because so many things has been happening. It's a shame this program has to be in English and both Yoruba as well. So as soon as I get the feed from our partners, we will go back to them straight away. So let's go back to them because I think we got them back now. Let's go there quickly.
Further repetition, and so it would suffice to remind us that Nigeria was not the consensual project of its constituent component nationalities, and that 4 decades into the Lugadian experiment of 1914, the regional leaders of the forcefully amalgamated territories had no faith whatsoever in the artificial political union into which their peoples had been locked by the British. And so, while Alhaji Ahmadu Bello, as Premier of the Northern Region, lamented the British imposed union as the mistake of 1914, Chief Obafemi Awolowo had dismissed Nigeria as a mere geographical expression. Number 2, recently declassified secret colonial records now affirm and confirm the heavy manipulations by the British to create a lopsided union in which what was packaged as independence in 1916 was, for the southern and middle belt of Nigeria, merely a transition from external British colonialism to internal colonialism, manifesting Nigeria progressively as a British/Caliphate joint business venture, holding the South and Middle Belt territories and peoples in servitude. On this note, it is instructive to recall the December 1913 description by the then Secretary for the Colonies, Lord Harcourt, of the impending January 1st, 1914 illicit annexation of southern Nigeria to northern Nigeria as the British marrying off the southern lady of means to the poor but well-conducted Nigerian youth, northern youth, and to point out that it was the celebration of this grand bequest that Ahmadu Bello had declared to his lieutenants in the very week of Nigeria's independence in October 1960, that the new nation called Nigeria should be an estate of our great-grandfather, that's his own great-grandfather, Uthman Fodio. We must ruthlessly prevent a change of power. We will use the minorities of the Middle Belt as willing tools, God forbid. And the South, the conquered territory, God forbid. Say it together, God forbid. And never to allow them to rule over us, and never allow them to have control over their future. God forbid. This is as quoted in Power newspaper of 12th October 1960. Number 3, we recall that at the departure of the British drew near in the early 1950s, the ethno-linguistic, cultural, and religious diversities of the people of the territory dictated the adoption of a federal constitution model, in which the 3 largely autonomous regions, northern, eastern, and western regions, own and control their assets, contributing an agreed percentage of their income, 15% maximum, to finance the upkeep and operations of the center, the federal government, in the limited function jointly delegated to it by the federative region. And it is pertinent to note that the high degree of autonomy which defines this federal
As I said earlier on, there are so many technical glitches going on there today, but don't worry about it. It's going to be resolved. We are going to have this today. This is going to happen today. Nobody can stop this, and this is not going to stop for any reason. So, as I was saying earlier on, the history of amalgamation and is actually a contract between the South and the North, which the British forced together. Like George Akela, one of the convener of this program, was saying in the background. Let's go back to them. We're back with them.
The region fractured force into 12 states in 1967, and subsequently present at the 6 states, which grovel at the feet of an omnipotent federal government with a 68-item federal executive legislative list that rendered the states completely incapacitated. As far as we are concerned, what happened in 1966 truncated Nigeria. Nigeria, our fathers negotiated. In 1959, up to elections, 1960, died in 1966. It is self-evident, number 5, that this inverted federalism is directly responsible for the globally acknowledged failings of Nigeria in all spheres, manifesting in pervasive corruption, infrastructure, gross insecurity, mass poverty, and hopelessness, thrusting Nigeria upon the global podium as the case study of a failed state. It is also self-evident that the many regional additions in Nigeria, whether for resource control, exit from the failed Nigeria Union, or for regional autonomy, or for sovereign national conference, are basically regional responses to Nigeria's inverted and distorted federalism, and therefore raise sovereignty questions that elections cannot answer. That number 6, that from the point of the collapse of the Federative Constitution in 1966, Nigeria ceased to be a federation, and that the unitarist country imposed by a combination of brute force and crime since 1966 has become for the constituent component units and component ethnic nationalities of Nigeria an occupation force. operating as an advanced sovereignty in negation and suppression of the collective sovereignties of the said constituent component nationalities, which now feel entrapped in the union of attrition and death that Nigeria has become for their various peoples, especially in the southern and middle belt territories, which had been at the receiving end of the belligerence of a section of Nigeria, as shown on the map behind us, which owe it a duty of faith to kill others as stipulated in Sharia, and which does not believe that all men are born equal, as stipulated in their principle of feudalism. Number 7, the simultaneous imposition of Sharia by the 12 contiguous states of the federal section or the feudal section of northern Nigeria in the year 2000 rendered the already distressed union of Nigeria practically untenable, since Sharia and feudalism are mutually exclusive with democracy and constitutionalism, to which the rest of Nigeria subscribed. And so it became a situation of irreconcilable clash of civilizations, with little prospects of finding any viable, sustainable resolution, as no side can be compelled or persuaded to abandon their world view. Number 8, that the present imposed master-servant constitutional order, which emanated from the series of decrees made between 1966, when Nigeria failed to exist, and 1999, which birthed both the so-called 1979 Constitution and its 1999 reincarnation, called the 1999 Constitution, that currently define the union called Nigeria, cannot be the basis for any democracy. For the same reasons that no democracy could have been built on the apartheid constitution in South Africa. Number 9, that many years of painstaking people-led democratic processes, including pro-NATO and other multi-regional initiatives, to find a sustainable resolution to the damaged constitutional foundations of Nigeria, had been ignored and denigrated by successive federal governments, including the present administration, as recent as November 2018, when in faraway Paris, France, President Muhammadu Buhari declared that those talking about restructuring were lazy, and without a clue on what they mean by restructuring and how it could be undertaken. A comprehensive response was given by us as to the meaning, content, and process of restructuring, as was raised by an alliance partner organization titled Open Memorandum to President Muhammadu Buhari on his Paris queries on restructuring. You can find this on Facebook. Just Google it on Facebook. And we adopt, the link is available too, we adopt and incorporate the full text of the said open memo on November 16, 2018, as the wider articulation of the issues around the demand for the reconfiguration of the constitutional foundations of Nigeria, preferably through referendum. It is also a matter of public knowledge. Number 10, it is also a matter of public knowledge that as a part of the aforementioned people-led processes, the component regional blocks of Nigeria, throughout the southern Nigeria and the middle belt, had in the course of the last 3 years taken their turns to publicly repudiate the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Nigerian Union. And the next logical step is to initiate a time-bound process for the termination of the operation of that Constitution. That Constitution must die for Nigerians, all the ethnic nationalities, and all the peoples of southern Nigeria and the middle belt to live. It is our condition that the most urgent challenge before Nigeria today is to reconstitute itself back to being a federation as the only viable mechanism for addressing the self-determination and sovereignty issues raised by the thoroughly disputed constitutional arrangements of Nigeria, not by elections that can only exacerbate an already bad situation. The current dangerous crossfire between political gladiators and the trajectory of the political discourse in Nigeria is reminiscent of the 1962 to 1965 episodes which exploded into the collapse of the Union in 1966. Accordingly, we, the self-determination groups of Yoruba land, under Yoruba Liberation Command and its associates, under the Biafra Coalition, under the Niger Delta peoples, and under the peoples of the Middle Belt, that will reconstitute itself, Nigeria will constitute back to being a federation as the only viable mechanism for addressing the self-determination and sovereignty issues raised by the thoroughly disputed arrangements of Nigeria. Repeat, not by election. So, we, the people, the owners of the land, the people that inherited Nigeria as certainly constituted from our ancestors, demand that in place of the general elections planned for 2019, a transitional arrangement be immediately instituted to peacefully ease out the rejected unitary constitutional order, while a body with constant powers is also instituted to midwife the emergence of successive constitutional arrangements according to the preferences of the constituent component nationalities of Nigeria to be ascertained by referendum. Referendums in the various constituent units that make up present in Nigeria to determine whether or not they want to remain in Nigeria or they want to exit. May we inform the political actors from the south and the middle belt of Nigeria that the choice must be made now between standing with the people of southern Nigeria and the middle belt that they claim to lead, who have rejected the 1999 constitution and any elections mandated by it, and stand with the enemies of their people who insist on preserving that master servant constitution of 1999, which enslaved and impoverished the peoples. We have spoken. Signatories of this are the Olicon Group, the Lower Niger Congress Group, and the United Middle Belt Independent Peoples, Indigenous Peoples Congress. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you all very much. What you just heard was in December 11th of 2018. Then after this proclamation, the Freedom Park Proclamation of December 11, 2018, the president went to France and basically said, well, he heard what we said, that the government didn't know how to do that. So we wrote an open memo to the president and to the government, telling them exactly what is going to happen. And that was in November 16th of 2018. And what you're going to hear now is exactly what we told the president, and it was published in the Guardian newspaper. So in a moment, you will hear what we told the government of the day. And between that time and to do that. So that's why we're here today, to enforce that. So I'm going to invite Otumba Fola Shade to read that memo that the Alliance sent to the government of the day concerning the restructuring and the reforming of the foundation of the country. Thank you. So, Otumba Fola Shade, over to you.
An open memorandum to President Muhammadu Buhari on behalf of the Lower Niger Congress and its MNN alliance partners in response to the restructuring queries raised in Paris, November 12, 2018. At an interactive session held with Nigerians resident in France, November 12, 2018, on the sidelines of the World Peace Forum in Paris, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari was reported by the media as saying the following: "There are too many people talking lazily about restructuring in Nigeria. Unfortunately, people are not asking them individually what do they mean by restructuring. What form do they want restructuring to take? Do they want us to have something like the 3 regions we used to have? And now we have 36 states and the FCT. What form do they want? They are just talking loosely about restructuring. Let them define it, and then we see how we can peacefully do it in the interest of Nigerians. They are just saying they want Nigeria restructured, and they don't have the clue of what the form of restructuring should be. So anybody who asks you about restructuring in Nigeria, ask him what it means and what form he wants it to take. Putting aside the unfortunate condescending haughtiness of describing the protagonists of restructuring as lazy and clueless, and for the purpose of clarity, the elaborate queries embedded in these comments credited to Mr. President could be summarized into 2 broad questions. What exactly constitutes a restructured Nigeria? How precisely should the restructuring exercise be undertaken? Let us know that question 1 relates mainly to the contents of restructuring in terms of what should emerge as the structure of Nigeria after the restructuring exercise could be successfully prosecuted. Before engaging these 2 broad questions, a few preliminary remarks would be necessary to establish the baselines for this intervention with a view to dissecting and bringing clarity and perspective to the entire restructuring discourse in a manner that is capable of advancing the difficult dialogue of the threshold of actionable common ground. Let it be recalled that after many years of government prevarication on the subject of appropriate constitutional arrangements for Nigeria, a critical mass of thought leaders who had a thorough grasp of what the real issue of the sick Nigerian state are and what potent remediation options are available to cure for its cure, came together from across the ethnic and geopolitical divides in Nigeria, including some of your contemporaries in the Nigerian military, and took upon themselves the daunting task of mobilizing the peoples of Nigeria towards a consensus that would generate more workable and more acceptable constitutional arrangements for Nigeria in place of the unworkable unitary constitutional order that was unilaterally fostered by military fiat between 1966 and 1999 on a Nigeria that was designed to be a federation. The said mobilization efforts led to the convocation of the People's Sovereign Conference of the ethnic nationalities of Nigeria by the Enahoro-led Pro-National Conference Organizations, PRONACO, 2005-2006, which successfully brought together delegations from the various ethnic nationalities across Nigeria, civil society, and the leadership of the various regional self-determination agitations of that period, some armed, including the Oduat People's Congress, OPC, as led by Gani Adams, the Movement for the Actualization of the Sovereign State of Biafra, MASOB, as led by Ralph Iwasu, the Niger Delta People's Volunteers Force, NDPVF, as led by Dokubo Asare, amongst others. The conference, after almost 2 years of exhaustive deliberations in an unfettered atmosphere, successfully produced the draft People's Constitution in August 2006, anchored on the regional drafts of the various regional delegations within the self-determination rights of the nationalities, being the constituent components of the distressed Nigerian Federation. The processes that produced the said draft People's Constitution had and still have the potential to peacefully guide Nigeria's return to its federal basis, and the federal government of that time engaged with the processes. Former President Obasanjo had actually declared that we were committing treason for convening a sovereign conference of the peoples of Nigeria. Having been a part of the wider spectrum of leading political actors from northern Nigeria involved by way of consultation in the Pronaco process, Mr. President, Mr. President will recall that I had a meeting at Ikeja between yourself, myself, and Chief Enahoro, handed to you the hardcover edition of the aforementioned draft People's Constitution in February 2007, when you came to intimate the arrowheads of Pronaco of your bid for the presidency of Nigeria in the 2007 electoral round. If there be any need for reminders on the events, 2005 to 2006, as outlined herein, Mr. President, I have no doubt that your current APC compatriots, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then Governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola, then Chief of Staff to Governor Tinubu, and Emi Osinbajo, then Attorney General of Lagos State, will readily be available to refresh your memory. Report that post-Pronaco, the arrowheads of Pronaco, including Chief Anthony Enahoro and Professor Wole Soyinka and Jim Chukwuemeka Ejumegu Ojukwu, amongst other plaintiffs, had, under the aegis of the implementation phase, called the Movement for New Nigeria, MNN, and in furtherance of Pronaco consensus, instituted suits between 2007 and 2009 at both the Lagos and Abuja divisions of the High Court, challenging the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution on the grounds of fraud and forgery, seeking the termination of its operation and the immediate initiation of a transitioning that would distill the successor constitutional arrangements, just as South Africa had to do to ease itself out of the obnoxious apartheid constitutional order between 1990 and 1994, under the leadership of courageous President Frederick W. de Klerk. Other implementation steps followed when by the MNN Lagos Declaration of June 30, 2011, the MNN Alliance partner organizations jointly repudiated the 1999 Constitution as the basis of Nigeria and mandated the said regional partner organizations to help galvanize the various peoples of Nigeria into regional constitution-making processes ahead of the inevitable constitutional reconfiguration of Nigeria, restructuring. Those regional processes have since advanced the constitution-making task and have, between 2015 and 2018, yielded formal regional proclamations across the southern and middle belt territories of Nigeria, repudiating on behalf of the peoples of each regional bloc the 1999 Constitution as a basis of the Federation of Nigeria, and respectively declaring their desires to explore other available options for the future of the various peoples within the context of their universal right to self-determination. Since Nigeria had for over 15 years, from Aburi of 1967, refused to address the self-determination questions arising from the grave constitutional grievances of its constituent components. This review of recent and ongoing actions and exchanges amongst the peoples of Nigeria on the subject of restructuring is to assure Mr. President that there is a body of knowledge and know-how which the distressed Federation of Nigeria can immediately leverage to salvage itself and from the free fall and debilitation it now finds itself in as a viable political union. And that contrary to Mr. President's charge that the proponents of restructuring are lazy and clueless, it is the federal government of Nigeria that has been mystifying and obfuscating the straightforward subject of returning Nigeria to its federal basis and presenting itself as frightened and confused every time the word restructuring is mentioned. With many failed attempts by federal governments to short-circuit the requisite processes by way of the Unitary Star National Conference in 1994, 2005, and 2014. Here is a further historical background for the answers we are providing to questions 1 and 2 as crafted. A federation is a union of constitutions, and Nigeria became one country at independence in 1960, when the three regions of the time, Northern, Eastern, and Western regions, which already had their own constitutions laid out between 1957 and 59, met, negotiated, and agreed to federate themselves into one political union at the Lancaster House Conferences of 1959. The crux of this agreement and the federation model it produced was the high degree of autonomy it guaranteed for the federating regions, in which each region owned and controlled its assets, contributing an agreed percentage of its income, 15%, for the upkeep of the center, federal government, to finance the limited functions generally delegated to the center by the regions, meaning that the center was a creation of the regions to service specified collective needs. It will be recalled that when in 1953, Anthony Anaho moved the first motion for independence, the Northern delegates opposed, blocked, and defeated the motion. On the ground that the Northern region was not yet ready for independence. It will also be recalled that following the collapse of the said independence motion of 1953, the 8-point demand raised by the then Premier of the Northern region, Sir Ahmadu Bello, as conditions for the Northern region to join the other two regions as one country and to independence had to do with the degree of regional autonomy which the North wanted, and this took between 1953 days and eventually defined the autonomy level adopted in what became the Independence Constitution in 1960. The coup of January 15, 1966, and the counter coup of July 29, 1966, brought the military into the arena of political power, resulted in the toppling and jettisoning of the 5 constitutions that defined the Federation of Nigeria, 4 regional and 1 federal, and the imposition of unitary constitutional instruments by military decrees, one of which by May 27, 1967, broke up the erstwhile 4 regions into 12 states and swept away the autonomy of the regions, whilst hijacking and confiscating the assets and rights of the regions. Most governmental powers and responsibilities of the regions were forcefully taken over by the federal government in this period. From that point in May 1967, Nigeria ceased to be a federation. It became and has remained a unitary state today, fractured into 36 largely impotent states that govern at the feet of an omnipotent but grossly inefficient federal government, holding to itself 68 items on the federal exclusive list, legislative list, as encapsulated by the imposed 1999 Constitution, which is a wholesale carryover of the equally imposed 1979 Constitution, despite the bogey called the 1977 Constituent Assembly, since the 17 amendments introduced by Obasanjo's Supreme Military Council in September 1978 overrode the clean draft of the Constituent Assembly of 1977. And that is what has brought Nigeria to the sorry pass it currently is in, becoming the leading global example and case study of a failed state, and also emerging the poverty capital of the world, despite its huge endowments in human and material resources. Mr. President, sir, these failures of Nigeria, characterized by gross insecurity, pervasive corruption, and infrastructural decay, are the direct consequences of the aforementioned distortions of Nigeria's federal constitutional arrangements since 1966, now fueling the trenchant demands for restructuring and outright exit from what has become a union of attrition for the vast majority of frustrated citizens and the peoples of the constituent components of Nigeria, who now feel entrapped in an unworkable imposed union and framed by a constitution, the authorship of which is falsely credited to them in the preambular text, which pretend we, the people, enacted our own damnation. It is therefore self-evident that the countrywide demands for restructuring are quite simply demands for the returning of Nigeria to its federal foundations, as there can be no viable mechanisms for sustainably keeping such a diversity of peoples, cultures, and civilizations as Nigeria presents in one cohesive country, otherwise than as a federation. All honest stakeholders ought by now to have reached this inescapable conclusion, especially by soberly looking back at the tragedies of unitary Nigeria since 1966. Let us also point out that the legislative mandate of the National Assembly does not include the constituent powers required to make the constitutional and powers are the exclusive of the federal constituent component, flowing from their sovereignty, currently suppressed by the sovereignty of Nigeria has been since 1966. Any lawyer who tells you otherwise is either ignorant or biased, whether it's ignorant of federal law. Having outlined these backgrounds, we will now proceed to the scientific account. What exactly is none of all this benefit Nigeria in terms of context of outcome is that the structure of Nigeria that we promote. A, when the sub-nationalities be the constituent components of which federating form, beside the geographical formation in which we will that is federating with the rest of the union. Often says that the internal guarantee internal coordination in the world within the context of the universal rights of each sub-nationality of determination. When the federation blocks decide what governmental responsibilities that they will see to the federal government, what they keep exclusive to themselves, and what they may concurrently undertake with the federal government, with all three residual powers, that is, anything not listed under any of their four main three categories, reserved for federating units. Referendums are plebiscites are deployed as ratification mechanisms as appropriate at each stage, in keeping with and in a manner consistent with the imperatives of self-determination for each sub-nationality. The number of federating units will also have to be a function of the consultations agreement of the sub-nationalities in stage 1 of the two-stage process outlined in question 2 below, and not by the kind of whimsical dictates that brought Nigeria to its current 36-state quagmire. How precisely should the restructuring be undertaken? Guided by the fact that a federation is a union of constitutions, and looking back at what truncated the basis of Nigerian federation, the logic of the situation dictates a two-stage process undertaken in a certain sequence. Stage 1 would be to distill the regional constitutions of the proposed federating units as outlined under question 1, that would federate in the second Okay. So to read this side.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
As was done, sir. In the second, as was done by the three regions between 1957 and 1959, ahead of the Lancaster House conferences of 1959. Stage 2 will be for the proposed federating units already armed with their respective regional constitutions as distilled from stage 1 to meet, negotiate, and agree on the terms of federating themselves into one political union, as was done in the Lancaster House conferences. Referendums and ratifications are to be deployed as ratification mechanism as appropriate at each stage, in keeping with and in a manner consistent with the imperatives of self-determination for each of the sub-nationalities. May we point out, Mr. President, that it was the failure of all the governments of Nigeria since 1970 to abide by this simple logic of a federation that is responsible for the failure of all attempts to rework the constitutional arrangements of Nigeria, starting with the Constituent Assembly of 1977 to all the national conferences of 1999, 2005, and 2014. So anything short of this two-stage process is bound to fail yet again, no matter how well intentioned the conveners may be. Now that we know in broad outlines what restructuring means, Mr. President, now that we know in broad outline what restructuring means, Mr. President may be asking, but how do we begin? From where we are now, especially with the 2000 elections so near? The best guide on how to proceed from where Nigeria is right now is to look at how South Africa eased itself out of the quagmire of the apartheid constitutional order between 1990 and 1994, under the courageous leadership of President W. de Klerk, when the apartheid era South Africa arrived at the very situation Nigeria has now arrived at under the imposed Master Servant 1999 Constitution that has been repudiated and rejected countrywide, but to which a tiny band of political merchants across Nigeria hold tenaciously for huge, humongous personal and group benefits. Even the people, the country, and the society sink deeper into misery, decay, and retention. The government of South Africa saved and began the healing of their dying country by telling itself the truth in 1990, namely that the apartheid constitutional order could not carry the South African society further, and therefore it announced a definitive plan to terminate the operations of the apartheid constitution and immediately set in motion the transitioning process called CODESA, which midwife the process birthed the wholesale replacement of the repudiated apartheid constitution, which birthed the wholesale replacement of the repudiated apartheid constitution. Nigeria is in that station at this time that requires this turnkey constitutional re-engineering, reconfiguration, and reconstruction, which has acquired the street name of restructuring. Mr. President, Nigeria is very sick, and we present this memorandum to you as concerned statesmen who have taken the trouble to fully diagnose the actual ailment of the sick Nigeria and to locate the most important prescription for that ailment, and now invite your government and other stakeholders to commence the emergency treatment to the life-threatening ailment of Nigeria over and above the ineffective palliatives that partisan politics have offered the dying union for over 50 years now, including elections that only throw up new drivers to steer the vehicle with a knocked engine, which Unity Nigeria has been since the 1966 collapse of its federal foundations. Whether we admit or not, Nigeria is now a thoroughly disputed project site, and further construction is not only a monumental waste, but makes a peaceful resolution much more difficult and much more costly. We were encouraged to raise this memorandum to you by the part of your comment in Paris, in which you stated concerning the restructuring demand. Let them define it, and then we see how we can peacefully do it in the interest of Nigerians. This is a much better tone and language than the previous dismissive and unnecessarily combative disposition of Mr. President to the demand for restructuring. We have defined it. The board now in the court of Mr. President, as custodians of the body of knowledge and know-how required to undertake this inevitable reconfiguration and reconstruction of the damaged constitutional foundations of Nigeria, we will stand by to offer our guidance to the process. With every sense of responsibility, and has already been campaigned for by the LNC and its MNN alliance partners, it is our conviction that the situation calls for a public acknowledgement by you that the 1999 Constitution is the source of the misery of Nigeria and Nigerians, and this acknowledgement should be accompanied by a formal announcement defining the 2019 elections, as well as the immediate initiation of a timeline transitioning process with the balance of your tenure along the paradigms outlined in this memorandum in place of further national elections in 2019 under the repudiated 1999 Constitution, which can only worsen the situation of Nigeria, as was the case in 1964-65 elections that landed Nigeria in the catastrophes of 1966 to 1970. For more illumination on restructuring from self-determination perspective, you may wish to view the YouTube title, Nigeria a valley of decision. May God grant you the wisdom and the courage required to steer the troubled ship of the Nigerian state in the present turbulent waters. For and on behalf of the Lower Niger Congress and its MNN Alliance.
That was it.
Okay, thank you very much, Otumba Olukoya. For today's very important proclamation, the force majeure. And also to say that these are just the lead signatory. There are over 20 million other signatories that we are hoping to process, to forward to the United Nations to do the needful. And we are also very excited that most of the signatories are right here on this call. So immediately after we finish scrolling the signatories, we will go ahead and make the proclamation. Okay, so there's no music background, incidentally, but we will also scroll this again when it's done. But this day, the December 16th of 2020, here are the lead signatories of the ethnic nationalities of Nigeria, who are being supported by over 20 million other signatories being processed. And after the force majeure proclamation, we are going to give people instructions, some guidelines as to where they can go to also add their signatory for this very important event. Okay, so here we go. So as you can see, these are very key individuals and the people, the core representatives of the people of the ethnic nations in Nigeria. These are people whom the ethnic nations themselves have, feel very comfortable to represent them, far more comfortable and far more reliable with them than the people who are currently in Abuja trying to represent them. Okay, so thank you very much. All right, so I want to observe that the network is compromised where Professor Akintoye, who is actually billed or who was billed to read the proclamation, where he is, the network is compromised, and we have done quite some bits to try to make it happen over the past couple of hours. And it looks like that is not happening at this time. But however, Professor Akintoye, the lead signatory for today's proclamation, is on the call. And then all the other signatories, the lead signatories, are also represented. So as a result, because what must happen, because the spirit is already here. So the joint leadership of the Minas Alliance, the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, so took the decision that the Secretary General of the LNC, who is also the co-convener of the Minas Alliance, will go ahead and read the proclamation. So, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we have been waiting for is here, and I would like to invite the Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress and the co-convener of the Minas Alliance, Barry Satoni Nnadi, Mr. Tony Nnadi, to read the proclamation on behalf of the Minas Alliance.
Welcome our people. Our co-compatriots in the Union of Nigeria, the District Federation of Nigeria, gentlemen for the media, we welcome you. This is a notice of constitutional grievances, a declaration of constitutional force majeure, and a demand for a transitioning process for an orderly reconfiguration of the constitutional basis of the Federation of Nigeria, being a joint proclamation of a sovereignty dispute by accredited delegates of Nigerian indigenous nationalities of the Southern and Western territories of Nigeria, issued this 16th day of December 2020. This proclamation is titled Correcting the Mistake of 1914. As the Distressed Federation of Nigeria wobbles in what seems its terminal throes, as young Nigerians rise up massively in revolt against the system that ruin their present and compromise their future.
Please, could you all mute, or can the host please mute everybody? There is a lot of noise coming in and interference. Please, host, could you mute everybody? Could you mute everybody? And then we will have to take this. Orebe, please mute phone. There's a lot of noise coming from your phones. Host, please, could you mute everybody? We're going to take this again in the beginning because we have it recorded. We're still hearing the background noise. Johnny, please, could you mute everybody? So there's someone with Orebe. There's a user called Orebe. Please remove, mute the person.
Yeah, I'm muted. I'm muted.
We can still hear some noise. We want absolute quiet for this.
Everybody is muted except Tony Nadi. Okay, there's okay, just one person. I just.
Okay, and there's also a Demola Oyelola. Please, could you mute? Could you mute? We want absolute quiet because we're recording this. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so Mr. Tony Nadi is going to start all over again. Oh, yes, okay, please.
Notice of constitutional grievances, declaration of constitutional force majeure, and a demand for transitioning process for an orderly reconfiguration of the constitutional basis of the Federation of Nigeria, being the joint proclamation of a sovereignty dispute by accredited delegates of the Nigerian indigenous nationalities of the Southern and Middle Belt territories of Nigeria, issued the 16th day of December 2020 in Lagos. This proclamation is titled Correcting the Mistake of 1914. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, as the distressed federation of Nigeria wobbles in what seems its terminal throes, as young Nigerians rise up massively in revolt against a system that ruins their present and compromises their future, and as bloody conflicts rage in all parts of Nigeria, in disputation of the terms of the distressed Nigerian Union, and as concerns mount in the international community. First, regarding the shaky future of the troubled Nigerian Federation, and second, the impact of a possible disorderly dissolution of Nigeria over the West African sub-region, the rest of Africa, and indeed the world. We gather here this day as accredited delegates of the constituent component nationalities of Nigeria under the aegis of Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, being a joint cooperation for the self-determination initiatives of the Southern and Middle Belt of Nigeria on behalf of our various peoples and interests, to pronounce an end to our toleration of Nigeria's unitary constitutional order, unilaterally imposed and forcefully maintained by a section of the Nigerian country in negation of the federal basis upon which Nigeria became one political union at independence in 1960, and in total subjugation of our collective sovereignties currently being forcefully and fraudulently appropriated by the Nigerian state. We gather here today before the global community to formally proclaim a sovereignty dispute in rejection of the further operation of the imposed unitary constitutional arrangements of Nigeria, and in assertion of our inalienable right to self-determination. The history of the colonial beginnings of Nigeria as a commercial venture of Britain is too well known to admit any further repetitions here, but suffice it to recall, one, that the manipulations that went into the flawed foundations laid by the British in 1914 amalgamation of the Protectorate of Southern Nigeria with the Protectorate of Northern Nigeria, as revealed in recently declassified British colonial records on Nigeria, created a lopsided union, locking the diverse peoples of Nigeria into one political union with two mortally opposed civilizations. Two, that as independence approached 1960, the diversities of various peoples of the Nigerian Union dictated the adoption of the federal constitutional model by the then three largely autonomous regions, namely the eastern, western, and northern regions of Nigeria, as basis of entering into independence as one political union in 1960. Three, that amidst the early strains of post-independence Nigeria, arising mainly from the aforementioned foundational and pre-independence manipulations by the British colonial rulers of the Nigerian Union, the military coups of 1966 truncated the federal constitutional basis of Nigeria and plunged the fledgling union into a catastrophic 30-month war with its breakaway eastern region between 1967 and 1970, triggered by disputations around the terms of the Nigerian Union and leaving in its trail human carnage in excess of 3 million people and a fractured union now resting on an unworkable unitary constitutional order imposed in 1979 first by the fiat of the illicit federal government which emerged since 1966, collapse of the Federation of Nigeria, forcefully hijacking and confiscating the sovereignties of the constituent component regions of Nigeria that federated their sovereignties in 1964. That the prevailing 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, which was a wholesale adoption of the 1979 edition via Decree number 24 of 1999, revalidated, reinforced the aforementioned hijack and confiscation of the sovereignties, powers, and assets of the four erstwhile federating regions by the aforementioned illicit federal government of Nigeria, which by decrees fractured the four regions into 36 states and completely emasculated by a 68-item federal exclusive legislative list that comprehensively stripped the federating states of all key assets, economic assets, and governmental powers, thereby creating a totally dysfunctional, corruption-prone, over-centralized system that has failed in every respect, manifesting in gross insecurity, decayed infrastructure, and mass impoverishment, such that Nigeria, with its vast human and material resource endowments, has now emerged as the poverty capital of the world, as well as the global leading example of a failed state. 5, there is a countrywide consensus against the unitary constitutional arrangement imposed incrementally on Nigeria by a combination of guile, brute force, and impunity between 1966 and 1999, now codified by the 1999 Constitution. This countrywide consensus has manifested in several unilateral, regional, and multi-regional actions in repudiation and rejection of the unitary constitution of Nigeria. The first indication that was in the year 2000, the 12 contiguous states of the far north simultaneously imposed and began to implement Sharia in their domains against the express provision of the 1999 Constitution, which in section 10 forbids the adoption of any state religion. This translates to a unilateral secession from the secular Union of Nigeria. Between 2005 and 2006, a sovereign conference of ethnic nationalities of Nigeria, convened by the Pro-National Conference Organizations, PNACO, deliberated exhaustively and produced a draft People's Constitution in 2006, which had the potential of restoring Nigeria to its damaged federal foundations. Though ignored by successive governments in Nigeria, that draft became the new federating consensus against the prevailing unitary constitutional order in Nigeria. It will be recalled that prior to the 1999 return to civil rule in Nigeria and before PNACO, there was NADECO, which vigorously challenged both the aberration of military governance in Nigeria and Nigeria's unitarized federalism, both by military decrees. C, as a way of easing out the rejected military constitutional order and paving the way for the emergence of a new federating consensus. The conveners of PRONACO, aggregating under the aegis of the Movement for New Nigeria, MNN, being an alliance of the regional self-determination initiatives of the South and Middle Belt territories of Nigeria, hereinafter called the Alliance, in May of 2007, instituted a lawsuit at the Federal High Court in Abuja, challenging the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution on the grounds of fraud and forgery, and sought an order of court for the termination of the operation of the 1999 Constitution via an 18-month transitioning arrangement. D, the MNN Alliance, by its MNN Lagos Declaration of June 30, 2011, jointly repudiated the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Nigerian Federation and mandated the alliance blocks to distill their various regional charters and constitutional drafts in readiness for the inevitable fundamental reconfiguration of the distressed Nigerian Federation to be ratified by referendums and plebiscites. We hereby adopt and incorporate the said MNN Lagos Declaration of June 30, 2011 in support of this proclamation. E, pursuant to the mandates of the MNN Lagos Declaration of June 30, 2011, the regional blocks of the MNN Alliance convened their various regional Solomon assemblies between 2015 and 2018, namely the April 27, 2015 Solomon Assembly of the Peoples of the Lower Niger in Port Harcourt, that is the Southeast and South-South, that Lower Niger Territory. The 7th September 2017 Yoruba Summit in Ibadan, and the July 18, 2018 Emergency Assembly of the Peoples of the Middle Belt in Makurdi. Each of these regional Solomon assemblies formally repudiated and rejected the 1999 Constitution as the basis of federation. We hereby endorse, adopt, and incorporate the resolutions reached by each of those Solomon assemblies. F, having rejected the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Nigerian Federation, and in the face of ferocious coordinated ethnic cleansing onslaught of the murderous Fulani militia against indigenous peoples of Nigeria, the MNN Alliance mobilized the people of the Alliance territories under the aegis of the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination to issue the joint multi-regional Freedom Park Proclamation of December 11, 2018, by which the Alliance territories rejected the conduct of further national elections mandated by the repudiated 19th Constitution and mandated a transitioning in place of the largely doomed 1999 Constitution, and demanded a transitioning in place of the largely doomed 2019 national elections as a way of putting a time to the termination of the operation of the 1999 Constitution and the distillation of successor constitutional protocols. The said Freedom Park Proclamation of December 11, 2018 is hereby adopted and incorporated in support of this present proclamation. It is pertinent to note that across all the regions of Nigeria, various social, cultural, and ethnic interests, various organizations have also been vehement in expressing the constitutional grievances of their own people, some even violently. Thus, on the Yoruba side, we have the Afenifere, the Yoruba Elders Council, Agbekoya, the Yoruba Liberation Command, the YWC, and many more, including the Ilana Omo Odua, which now aggregates several Yoruba self-determination initiatives across the world in the eastern part of southern Nigeria. We have Ohanese, Movement for the Survival of the Ijaw Ethnic Nationality in the Niger Delta, that's Mosian, Ijaw National Congress, INC, Ijaw Youth Congress, DEF, Midwest Movement, the Delta People Volunteer Force, MEND, MASOB, IPOB, others. in the Middle Belt. We have the Middle Belt Forum, the MBC, the SOCAPO, the Connector, and many others. Several notable statesmen in Nigeria, including General Olusegun Obasanjo and Yakubu Gowon, both former heads of states, have lent their voices to the urgent imperative of the fundamental reform of the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria, warning that any further delay may lead to the catastrophic collapse of the distressed Nigerian Union. Nigeria's former defense minister, Lieutenant General Theophilus Danjuma, had also urged indigenous peoples of Nigeria facing the ethnic cleansing onslaught of the murderous Fulani invaders to defend themselves and their lands in the face of obvious collusion of the federal government of Nigeria and its armed forces with the Fulani invaders. In the aftermath of the October 2020 EndSARS protests, many, including the Nigerian Christian Elders Forum, now insist that Nigeria needs to be renegotiated. Between January and July of 2019, a delegation of the Alliance territories engaged the international community, especially stakeholder institutions in Washington, D.C., to alert the U.S. and the community of the degenerating security situation in Nigeria, where ISWAP, terror machinery of ISIS, made sweeping inroads into Nigeria and the Lake Chad Basin, Nigeria as its hub, with large-scale killings and dislodgement of Christian indigenous populations, mainly in the Middle Belt and the South, encouraged by what seems a manifestly sympathetic of Nigeria and its armed forces in circumstances that present terror-related concerns to the global community, particularly the United States. 3, specific constitutional grievances touching on the sovereignties of the constituent components of the distressed Federation of Nigeria, which are beyond the powers of the legislative mandate of the National Assembly of Nigeria or the federal government of Nigeria to unilaterally address. Let me repeat. Specific constitutional basis touching on the sovereignties of the constituent components of the distressed Federation of Nigeria, which are beyond the powers and legislative mandate of the National Assembly of Nigeria or the federal government of Nigeria to unilaterally address.
How you see yourself? Okay.
1, the claim in the preamble to the 1999 Constitution that one. We continue with the specific constitutional grievances. 1, the claim in the preamble to the 1999 Constitution that we, the people, firmly and solemnly resolved to live in one political union, and that we enacted and gave ourselves the 1999 Constitution is self-evidently false, as Decree number 24 of 1999, by which the so-called 1999 Constitution was promulgated, outlines step by step the process by which the author of the 1999 Constitution, General Absalom Abaka, and his Armed Forces Provisional Ruling Council came about the document it labeled the 1999 Constitution. This is a criminal usurpation of the sovereignties of the constituent components, whose exclusive right it is to make for themselves the constitution by which they will federate and be governed as an incident of their sovereignty, even by the admission of the 1999 Constitution as Section 14(2)(a), and I quote, "Sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government through this Constitution derive all its powers and authority. This is the fountain from which all other constitutional grievances flow, and there is no other remedy to this particular grievance than an autochthonous process by which the constituent components will submit their peoples and their lands into a union, and also stipulate the terms of that union to be ratified by referendums and plebiscites. We refer to Decree number 24 as incorporated into the 1999 Constitution and the preambular text of the 1999 Constitution. It's still there for everybody to see. The claim that we made the Constitution, that's the biggest complaint of the nationalities against that Constitution. Two, the second grievance. A federation is a union of constitutions, and Nigeria became a federation of 3 largely autonomous regions at independence in 1960, when those regions, each armed with its own constitution, agreed to federate into one political union after a series of negotiations at Lancaster House in London between 1957 and 1959. The Midwestern region became the 4th region of Nigeria in 1963 from a constitutional process. The 36 states and 774 local government structure unilaterally imposed by the 1999 Constitution fundamentally distorts the pre-1966 4-region federation, especially the power relations between the federating units and the federal government, which is supposed to be a creation of the federating units, rendering the Nigerian Union a unitary state away from the federal basis upon which the autonomous regions of the diverse peoples of Nigeria agreed to become one political union at independence. These imposed structures also create artificial permanent political majorities and permanent political minorities, irrespective of ground realities in terms of population and other key indices, with grave implications for representation in the places of decision-making as well as resource allocation, amongst other debilitations. There is no other viable remedy for this particular grievance than reverting to the national negotiated basis of federating in terms of formations and preferences ratified by referendums and plebiscites. Refer to the first schedule of part 1 of the 1999 Constitution. The summary of this particular grievance is that the formations in which the peoples agreed to relate have been fractured from 4 regions of 1966 to 36 states, in which the question of representation, resource allocation, and all kinds of things people expect in a federation have been compromised permanently against some in favor of others. The third ground of grievance, we've taken 2. The third ground of grievance is that the 68 item as federal exclusive legislative list is the mechanism by which the illicit federal government of Nigeria hijacked, confiscated, and sequestered the key economic assets, as well as the most important governmental powers and authority of the federating units. Federally confiscated assets include oil and gas assets, the vast maritime assets of the coastal territories, solid mineral, including iron ore, aluminum, coal, limestone, and a wide range of precious metals and stones. The federally confiscated powers include the power to generate and transmit electricity, the power to operate a police service, and other services that might require the use of arms, the power to build, own, or operate seaports, airports, railways, highways, etc. 68 items. Also confiscated are the powers of over banking, insurance, copyrights, patents, trademarks, pensions, prisons, posts, company incorporation, marriages, elections into federal and state offices. The list continues. Some of the worst consequences of this federal hijack and confiscation of powers and assets was the seizure of the federal government, by the federal government, of educational institutions, particularly the great universities developed by the then regions, which the federal government thoroughly degraded over the years. The same was the case with the manufacturing concerns established by the regions. The implication of this federal exclusive legislative list is that only the federal government shall have power and control over all the items listed, while the federating units are forbidden from anything coming under that list. To make things worse, even the few undertakings permitted the already emasculated states under the so-called concurrent list 13 number, are expressly subjugated to the overriding powers of the federal government, such that any conflicts between the federal government and the state government in respect of any matter on the concurrent list, the interests of the federal government will prevail. More than any other single cause, the disastrous consequences of this over-centralization of control over a large range of subject matters has been at the heart of Nigeria's arrested development and the total system dysfunction, especially when viewed against the backdrop of the rapid socio-economic development in the pre-1966 region of Nigeria, which owned, controlled, and worked their respective economic assets to the benefit of their own people, exercised most of the powers now sequestered from them by the so-called federal government. The other over-centralization comes with hideous inefficiencies that have been the root cause of the culture of corruption and waste in Nigeria, as humongous assets and funds are held in the hands of the federal establishment that have no real contact with the development needs of the various parts of Nigeria. Thus, we are saddled with a situation in which people who have nothing to do with the pressing needs of the true owners of the assets, and who are now not in any way accountable to those true owners or anybody at all, carry on most wastefully as armed robbers will do with their loot. Whether such public funds are proceeds from the sale of oil and gas, or from customs duties, operations of ports, company taxes, or VAT, those who receive the funds as allocations simply treat the funds as their own share of the loot called Nigeria. In all, the entire system is designed to be resistant to development. The various agitations in Nigeria, from the Niger Delta Resource Control agitation to the Yoruba OPC and Amotekun that seek control over Yoruba internal security, to the Biafra agitation by those in eastern Nigeria who are so completely frustrated by the inequitable and unworkable Nigerian unitary union that seek outright exit from the union, are caused by the 68-item federal exclusive legislative list. That Nigeria is without electricity or any meaningful infrastructure is on account of this federal exclusive legislative list. That Nigeria has become the poverty capital of the world is due mainly to the exclusive list. The broken down security situation in Nigeria is also largely due to this same exclusive list. The remedy to this particular constitutional grievance is to dismantle the exclusive list completely, restore the sovereign powers of the constituent components, which may in turn cede to the center only such powers as they freely wish, in unfettered self-determination as dictated by the concept of federalism. We may refer to the second schedule, part 1 of the 1999 Constitution that lists all of those items on the exclusive list. Nigeria is where it is today largely on account of that. Number 4, that's the fourth ground of grievance. Aggravation of existing constitutional grievances and extraordinary urgency for remedial action. As quite apart from the provisions of the Constitution itself, there are aggravating circumstances that have arisen to impose an urgency on the peoples of Nigeria concerning this subject matter. And so, amidst trenchant demands by the peoples of the South and Middle Belt for the fundamental reconfiguration of Nigeria's unitary constitutional order to address the dysfunctional system under which security and infrastructure had completely broken down in Nigeria, the ferocious ethnic cleansing onslaught by the Fulani militia, masquerading as herdsmen, commenced throughout southern Nigeria and Middle Belt upon the emergence of Major General Muhammad Buhari in 2015 as the president of Nigeria, compounding the Boko Haram insurgency and terror campaign that was already ravaging the northeast of Nigeria, especially the Christian communities. Concerning the rapidly worsening situation and the Middle Belt, in the South and the Middle Belt, as well as the glaring complicity of the federal government of Nigeria in circumstances that progressively validate the charge of outright collusion with the murderous Fulani militia. masquerading as herdsmen, it is pertinent to point out the following. A, that as president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, a Fulani himself, and the life grand patron of the Fulani Cattle Breeders Association, MAGBA, had asked the governor of Benue State, Samuel Otom, who had come to seek the federal government's intervention on the invasion of Benue State by Fulani herdsmen, to go home to his people and learn how to live in peace with the moderate Fulani herdsmen, who Buhari described as the Fulani of Benue. B, Nigeria's defense minister under President Buhari had declared that the developments blocking what he described as ancient cow grazing routes must be removed, or the cows and the herdsmen will bulldoze their way through the developments. C, the Inspector General of Police under President Muhammadu Buhari declared that the states which passed and enforced anti-open grazing laws were responsible for the violence being unleashed by the Fulani herdsmen, and that unless these laws were repealed, the situation could only get worse. That's the Inspector General of Police that should have been at the forefront of, defending people from the attack of these herdsmen. D, amidst the agonizing cry of the peoples of the Middle Belt and the South regarding the invasion of their communities by moderate Fulani militia, the spokesman of the president, Buhari, Femi Adesina, advised the distressed and endangered communities that it would be better to give up their lands to the Fulani in order to save their lives. E, under the watch of President Buhari and at the outset of the post-2015 escalation of the Fulani herdsmen killings in southern Kaduna, the governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, had announced that he went to 14 different countries to appease the Fulani who come from those countries to kill in southern Kaduna. These appeasement measures, according to El-Rufai, included the payment of 100 million naira from the public treasury of Kaduna State to the invading Madras Fulani militia. F, under the watch of President Buhari, a strange practice was introduced in which captured fighters of Boko Haram and other terror groups are freed by the federal government of Nigeria, which declares them repentant and actually absorbs them into the Nigerian military to fight side by side with people who were chasing them just the day before. G, the recent unilateral declaration by President Buhari that Africans from all parts of Africa are free to enter Nigeria without visa, and the consequent influx of Fulani into Nigeria, who are being openly aided by the federal government of Nigeria to take over vast lands from the indigenous communities, has exacerbated the undisguised ethnic cleansing by the invading Fulani, whom the governor of Bauchi State recently declared as being all Nigerians. The governor of Bauchi State went on national TV to tell the rest of us that Fulani from all over Africa are Nigerians, and therefore, not only are they to enter, but they can, that they will have the first right of, enjoying whatever is available to Nigerian citizens, wherever they are in Africa. On a scale, this particular point is happening, this particular point of compromising our sovereignty is happening on a scale that totally compromises the sovereignty of Nigeria itself, and therefore that of all constituent components of Nigeria, particularly the South and the Middle Belt. The massive influx of dangerous-looking Fulani migrants into southern Nigeria during the federal government-imposed COVID-19 lockdown is a pointer to the malevolent motives of the Fulani. In the first week of August 2020, the US raised alarm about an impending invasion of Nigeria by both Al-Qaeda and ISIS from Nigeria's northwest. To further compromise our sovereignty, Chinese loans being recklessly contracted by the federal government of Nigeria contain clauses that cede Nigeria's sovereignty to China in the event of a default. Reckoning aggravations A to G above, The peoples of South and Middle Belt of Nigeria are now in the horrific realization and apprehension that the Fulani-controlled federal government of Nigeria, under the superintendence of the Fulani president, Muhammad Buhari, could actually be behind the well-orchestrated ethnic cleansing campaign being unleashed against the indigenous nationalities of Nigeria by the Fulani invading Nigeria from all sides. In the face of the Sharia embraced by our compatriots in the far north of Nigeria, in a supposedly secular federation, the clear existential threat to the peoples of southern and middle belt Nigeria, represented by the aforementioned jihad-style Fulani militia onslaught, brings a new urgency to the grave constitutional grievance that have been consistently raised by the peoples of the southern and middle belt Nigeria in course of the last 5 decades, bordering on the sovereignties of the constituent components of Nigeria, which has now been completely hijacked, suppressed, and subjugated by the illicit federal government of Nigeria, which has become a sovereign power controlled exclusively by the Fulani. We can see the map that shows what we're talking about. The stretch in yellowish color at the 12 contiguous states of the far north that simultaneously adopted Sharia in year 2000. They are contiguous and they acted simultaneous in year 2000. And then we see the other part, white, the eastern half of southern Nigeria, that's the lower Niger, the western half, and the middle belt, which is the white portion on this map is the alliance territory, rejecting the Sharia and rejecting unitarism and feudalism. We continue. In the face of the Sharia embraced by our compatriots in the far north of Nigeria in a supposedly secular federation, the clear existential threat to the jihad-style Fulani militia onslaught brings a new urgency. Accordingly, being accredited representatives of the indigenous nationalities of Nigeria's southern and middle belt territories, hereinafter called the Alliance territories, constituting over 75% of the population of Nigeria, on behalf of the peoples of the territory, and in invocation of the universal rights appertaining to our sovereignties as indigenous peoples of the stressed Nigerian territory, including the right to self-determination as enshrined in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People 2007, as well as the United Nations Charter on Human Rights. Having exhausted every democratic, people-driven process in seeking an orderly redress for the aforementioned grave constitutional grievances emanating from the unilateral imposition of a unitary constitutional order on our supposed federal union by a section of Nigeria that has also imposed Sharia in their own part of our supposed secular union. And now, in circumstances that has become an extraordinary emergency for our people, being confronted by the clear and present danger of extermination in the hands of our supposed compatriots in the Union of Nigeria, who are pursuing an ethnic cleansing campaign against the indigenous nationalities of Nigeria, hereby declare a sovereignty dispute with the Federation of Nigeria as represented by the federal government of Nigeria on account of our repudiation and rejection of the imposed 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, whose authorship was fraudulently imputed to us by the preamble to that Constitution in its first claim that we, the people, made, enacted, and gave to ourselves the said 1999 Constitution, with a further lie in that preamble that we had firmly and solemnly resolved to submit as our peoples and our lands into the Union of Nigeria. Furthermore, in invocation of our long suppressed collective sovereignties, we hereby proclaim a constitutional force majeure effective from the midnight of the 16th day of December in 2020, with a 90-day notice to the government of the Federation of Nigeria, the Security Council of the United Nations, the government of the United States of America, the European Union, as well as the international community, of the intention of the peoples of the Alliance territories to reconsider our continued allegiance to the disputed 1999 Constitution as well as the unitary union of death, attrition, and backwardness it forced on us. For the sake of peace and to avoid anarchy, it is our demand that in the 90-day period of this notice, the following specific actions must be undertaken by the federal government of Nigeria to firmly set in motion an irreversible process by which the aforementioned grave constitutional grievances will be addressed. A formal announcement by the federal government of Nigeria acknowledging the constitutional grievances and sovereignty dispute now declared by the peoples of South and Middle Belt of Nigeria. B, a formal commitment by the federal government of Nigeria to the wholesale decommissioning and jettisoning of the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Federation of Nigeria, as was done by the government of apartheid era South Africa in 1990, to commence the process by which the apartheid constitution of the then South Africa was eased out. C, a formal announcement by the federal government of Nigeria suspending further general elections under the disputed 1999 Constitution, since the winners of such elections will swear to and govern by that Constitution. D, a formal initiation of a time-bound transitioning process to midwife the emergence of fresh constitutional protocols by a two-stage process in which the constituent regional blocks will, at the first stage, distill and ratify their various constitutions by referendum and plebiscite, and in the second stage, negotiate the terms of federating afresh, as may be dictated by the outcomes of referendum and plebiscites. E, a formal invitation to the peoples of the South and Middle Belt of Nigeria to work out and in place a transitional authority by which shall specify the modalities for the transitioning.
Mark Olise, please, could you unshare your screen? And host, please, could you make sure that no one else has the access to share screen for the duration, except us here, please. Thank you.
I take the last one again. E, a formal invitation to the peoples of the South and Middle Belt of Nigeria to work out and in place a transitional authority which shall specify the modalities for the transitioning process, including the composition and mandate of the transitional authority, as well as the time frame for the transitioning over and other ancillary matters, just like South Africa did with apartheid in 1990. By this proclamation, let it be known to all, including the international money lenders, that Nigeria is now a disputed project, and that while the constituent components commit to honoring existing international debt obligations, we caution that whatever obligations may arise from any foreign loans contracted by the federal government of Nigeria from the date of this proclamation may come into controversy. Similarly, all loans contracted by the federal government of Nigeria containing any clause that may cede the sovereignty of Nigeria to any or any part thereof in the event of a repayment default shall be disputed as illicit and in breach of the sovereignty of the federating units. We also invite politicians from the alliance territories and other political parties and all political parties operating in the alliance territory to take notice that the 1999 Constitution by which the winner of any national elections in Nigeria will swear and govern is the very object of the sovereignty dispute we have just proclaimed, with a demand that further national elections premised upon the repudiated Constitution be deferred forthwith for the purpose of first reworking the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria. It is therefore our expectation that you will stand with your people, that's the politicians and the political parties, will stand with the people you claim or seek to serve as politicians or political parties in their current resolve to wind up the operation of the 1999 Constitution and extinguish the source of their misery. If instead of standing with your people, you choose to go to another round of general elections in 2023 under that 1999 constitution, it will simply mean that you are a part of the enemy-imposed mechanism for inflicting death, misery, impoverishment upon your own people for no other reason than personal gain. The signatories to this proclamation commit themselves to providing a detailed proposition for undertaking the fundamental reconfiguration of the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria. In this regard, the signatories adopt and incorporate the MNN Alliance's November 16, 2018 open memorandum to President Muhammadu Buhari on the restructuring debate, reported in Guardian newspaper of November 18, 2018, as an outline of our prescriptions, issued this day, this 16th day of December, year 2020. I thank you for your audience.
Okay, this demands an incredible round of applause. Everybody, just wherever you are, even though your mic is muted, this is historic. This is what we have been waiting for. This is historic. Wonderful. It's not going to be the same again from today. It's not going to be the same again from today. In the Alliance territory have done today, what all of us have done is basically look a 100-year-old monster, a 100-year-old monster in the face and say, go to hell, go to hell. Yes, we've looked here in the face and say, no more. We fear no more. It shall never be the same again from here. All right, so what we're going to take right now, we're going to take comments and then questions from the media. Questions from the media first. And then there's Heritage TV and a couple of other media people and international media in the house. So we are going to take questions. We also have Professor Akintoye in the house. Thank you very much, sir. And a couple of other lead signatories, who are here. So for the journalists in the room who have questions, what you could do is you raise your hand and or you type it in the chat. But if you raise your hand, the host can unmute you and then you speak. Otherwise, just go ahead and type your questions in the chat and then we will have your questions taken. Yes, so one already says, can we please share a soft copy of the declaration so that we can circulate it to Nigerians all over the world? Yes, with this proclamation, the soft copy is being released right now to all the media houses in Nigeria, internationally, and social media, and everyone on this call. We are also going to upload it before this call goes, and you can download it right there from Zoom. Yes. Okay, so questions? Yes, we have been waiting for this day all our lives. Yes, I see that coming from Justice for All. Yes, Tunde Obo. This is the people taking over their land. And then in the chat I hear, I am dancing. Yes, this is a day to dance. Okay, so we're still waiting for questions or comments from the media first. So we're looking at the chat, so questions from the media first, and then we take from the rest of the house. Comments? Okay, and while we are waiting for the media and their questions, we would also like to invite Professor Akintoye in the house to please unmute yourself and address the people. We thank you very much, Prof, for all the efforts that you made to make sure that everything goes well. But so here is technology. In spite of all your best effort, it didn't happen, but we're so honored that you are here in the room. So Professor Akintoye, please unmute your mic and then address the House. Thank you very much. Okay, and then the host can share Professor Akintoye's screen. Prof, you're still muted.
Professor Akintoye. Yeah.
Prof is there. Prof, you're muted.
No,
Prof,
I
can
see
you hear
him on
us?
the list, but I'm trying to find him. There's a lot of people in the meeting. Meeting. Oh yes, there he is.
Okay.
Professor Akintoye. Yes.
Yeah, Professor
Please
Baji
unmute, sir.
Akintoye.
Okay, there is nothing more to add at this point than to say that this is the turning of the tide of history for the peoples of the South and the Middle Belt. We have endured suppression in the country that we belong to, and we have done everything possible, everything sensible, everything peaceful to address it. But we have been turned down and treated as if our voices don't matter. Now we are telling the world that our voices matter. And from this point, there is no turning back. I congratulate the people of the peoples of the South and the Middle Belt for this historic day. And I say that we will go on and achieve the liberation of our people from suppression and subjugation in Nigeria. Thank you very much. It is a great day, a welcome change in the life of our people. And we thank you all for listening to us. Here we go. This is the turning of the tide of history for the peoples of the South and the Middle Belt. Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
Awesome.
Tony. Thank you, everybody, all of you young men who have done this. You know that I am with you every inch of the way, every second of the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you. Okay, we do have other signatories, lead signatories in the House. Yes, so please, the other signatories in the House, you are welcome to please identify yourself and say a word. We're also trying to identify some of you here. So many of you are here. Is TK, is TK in the House of Goriba? Okay, all right, so we have George. George is a signatory and he's in the House. Okay, George, let's have a word from you. Okay, and then I would also invite, I can see that leaders from the Middle Belt, this comment is from Wing Commander Dr. Hussein Omotosho. Yeah. All right, so we would also like to invite any of the signatories from the Middle Belt, from Ijaw Nation, from, yes, Jonah Jang, and all of you present here, please, would also invite you for your remarks. Okay, George, let's have your remarks.
Thank you so much, Ogbo. This is really a great day for everyone. This is the culmination of all the hard work that everybody has put in for the past 2-3 years. And it's great to be here to witness this. I'm very, very optimistic. I'm very, very happy. I had always known from the beginning that victory is ours. And we have shown resilience, we have shown patience, we have shown understanding, but the people we are dealing with are actually totally deaf and dumb. So since they are deaf and dumb, this drastic action that is legal, that is totally according to the dictates of the United Nations, is extremely welcome. Now we are in the driving seat. I congratulate everyone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, George. Okay. Uncle Fred Agbegbe. Is Uncle Fred in the House? The chairman of the Movement for New Nigeria Alliance. Can we have your remarks? Okay, Middle Belt, the Middle Belt signatories from Middle Belt. Any of you here, please just Type it in the chat and let's have your remarks. Okay. Is Commodore Ikiwe, Ebitu Ikiwe still in the house? Commodore Jonah Jang. Professor Turaki, I saw you.
No, please, I can't hear a word again.
A little while ago. Can you still hear me? Or is it just Hajanik that can't hear me?
I'm hearing you.
Okay. Okay. Hajanik, maybe it's your internet. All right. Let's see. Okay. We have actually Wing Commander Jose Omotosho joining us all the way from Australia. Okay, please just unmute yourself and just give us your remark. Yeah, give us your remark. Excellent.
It's great to witness what is happening. The remark I want to give, permit me to give it, because I'm not only a retired wing commander, I've traveled all the place. I've been task force on many task forces in Benin, in Port Harcourt, in Makurdi. But the one thing is also that I'm a pastor in the Redeemed Christian Church of God. And for 20 years, God has shown me about this thing that is about to happen. And Nigeria is a train moving. Nobody can stop it. The new Nigeria is what we in the South belong to. And people have been shouting about it. I've foreseen it over 20 years ago when I was still in the service. So I'm very confident. Let body have no fear at all whatsoever. We are in it together. Initially, it was like pockets. But what God showed me is that there is teamwork from the South across the Niger. No one can do it alone. And I'm asking, that's why my question about the Middle Belt. We need to really work in the Middle Belt zone because the Fulanis are bent on taking the Middle Belt with them.
Okay. Thank you very much, Wing Commander Jose, and thank you for that comment about the Middle Belt. When I invite Tony Nadibak, he will give us a little bit of the update because very exciting things are happening in the Middle Belt. As a matter of fact, they are fully 100% into what we're doing here today. Thank you very much for that. I would also like to invite Hajanike Abdurrahim. You're the Yeye Oge of Northern Yeye. Okay, sorry, Yeye Oge. Pardon me, don't worry. When we fix Nigeria, we'll get to. When we fix Nigeria, we fix language, we fix all these things that they have messed up our brain.
Good afternoon,
okay, please,
good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, give us your remarks. Thank you.
I really appreciate what is going on. I'm so excited to be here, and I commend the organizer of this move. May God make it easy for us. As the Yeye Oge of Northern Nigeria, I represent my people. I am the voice of the women, and we are so concerned about the recent happening in the country. Nowhere is safe. And I believe the only thing to do is to do it ourselves with our own people in our own way and get it better again. We know what is happening. There's no need. There's this Chinese saying that says, if you want to defeat others, you must first defeat yourself. And in defeating ourselves, we have to work on our fear, lack of confidence that if we come out how to say what we want, are they going to put us behind bars? If they don't put Nelson Mandela behind bars, a lot of good things won't happen in his country. So we should defeat that and then move ahead according to plan and work together as a team to achieve this feat. And I believe we are going to, do great. We are going to achieve it by the grace of God. Our parents prayed for it. We prayed for it because we know what is happening with our own children. Nothing is working in this country called Nigeria anymore. So whatever is going to take, if it has to be to segregate, then let's do it without fear. Please, count me in on this. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So thank you very much indeed. As the former president of the United States said in moments like this, he said that there's nothing to fear but fear itself. And what we've just done today is defeat fear, because there was nothing before us other than fear. So thank you for that very excellent comment. And if he says today is the turning point, power must go back to the people. Ray Chukwemeka says, throughout the night, I saw myself participating in this historic event. I am most grateful to God for allowing me to see this day. All right, do we still have any other late signatory in the house? Would like you to, yes, I think I just saw Reverend Palm. Yes, Reverend James Palm, please, your remarks. Please unmute yourself. Johnny, please unmute Reverend Palm, and let's have your remarks, sir. Awesome. Oh, we can hear him. We can hear him. He's speaking, but we can't hear him. Please unmute him and then let him unmute himself. Okay, Reverend Palm, can you go ahead? Okay, we're still having some audio challenge with Reverend Palm, who also happens to be one of the lead signatories from the Middle Belt. Okay, all right. Oh, you can hear, I see a thumbs up. Mike is here. Okay. Can you all hear Reverend Palm? Reverend Palm is speaking, but we can't hear him from here. Or is it just us? Okay. All right. We also have Mike. Mike, can you?
No, we can hear him too.
Okay. Mike, can you unmute yourself and give your remarks? I think we also have Mike, who happens to be a signatory as well. Okay, you can hear him as well. Okay. All right. So Tony, why don't you go ahead and take a couple of questions or comments that have already arisen from the media in the chat. One of them was, before we take this ones, somebody made, the wing commander made a comment about the Middle Belt. Can you give us some update, not just the Middle Belt, but the other parts of the alliance, how everybody, and I know in the past couple of days, you've been traveling all over the whole place and engaging. Give our people a sense of the level of deep engagement that, because it's easy to think that it's just people on this call, you know, and maybe a few other people. Just give us some idea about the deep engagement with the people, the owners of the land that has happened in the past couple of days.
Right. The what we see today is a culmination of a 21-year journey that began right in 1999.
So
let's mute ourselves and hear ourselves.
Dikirulahi, please mute yourself. We can hear you. Dikirulahi, please mute yourself. Thank you.
So as it were, the event we see today is a culmination of a 21-year process that began right from the point the 1999 Constitution was introduced. Collapse of the 1960 consensus, 1963. And it came in 5 phases that is now at the terminal phase. This is just the concluding part of the terminal phase. In the first phase, we had to get the nationalities of Nigeria to sit down and examine their situation and the options available. That was how Pronaco came. We went around the whole country. Nadeco, yes, was successful in getting the soldiers out of government house, but the constitution by which we had to go to that democracy was not settled, and so the soldiers succeeded in, enforcing on us fraudulently the constitution they made in 1979 through all kinds of underhand processes from 1975, and so it was a matter of engaging the problem for what it was. And so we said all the structures created by Nigeria since 1966 by decree will not be the basis of any discussion. It's the nationalities that will have to, the Yorubas, Yoruba, the Ijaws, the Ogonians, Ogoni. And that was how the conference of 2005, the PRONACO that happened between 2005 and 2006 came into being. We will recall that at the time we were going around the country to, invite people into these nationalities. It took 3-4 years of intensive, engagement with the nationalities. In 2004, it came to where we announced that we were going to have a meeting of the sovereign components of Nigeria to examine the options open, because the country was going down. And so Obasanjo was president at the time. What did he do? He went on national broadcast to say that we were committing treason if we called a meeting of the owners of Nigeria. Well, that challenge simply drew out more people in support of what we're doing, and it came to where he had to change his own, in an attempt to get ahead of the initiative. That was how Obasanjo set up the McCarthy Committee in December of 2004 to work out what became the 2005 National Conference. Well, our quarrel with all of what they were doing at the time, for which reason we wanted to do it by ourselves, is that the task of deciding, the right and prerogative of deciding the union agreement, which the Constitution is exclusive to the constituents. The sovereign constituents of Nigeria are the only ones who can determine whether they want to be in a union, and if so, on what terms. Those are two separate questions, and that's why you see the Constitution starting with the preamble, we the people have solemnly resolved to live together. That's one subject matter. And then the other one is making and giving unto ourselves a constitution. That's another subject matter, like the memo and articles of a company. Now, yes, we discussed all the way to 1960, from the time the British were planning to leave. But that agreement, union agreement that was reached in Lancaster House, that Nigeria shall be a federation of autonomous regions that will have control and ownership over their assets, contributing for the upkeep of the center, and generally, a secular union. These were fundamentals. And to tell us how far we have departed from those fundamentals, from the time we abandoned what we agreed in 1966, it will be recalled that these killings happen in the Middle Belt today over, from elements that seem bent on a jihad. The Willings Commission, as at the time independence was being negotiated, quite apart from the question of being a federal union and being a secular union, Ahmadu Bello, who was a leader of the northern region of the time, wanted Sharia, for northern regions. And so it was a matter of fundamental compromise for the Sharia to be removed, because the Middle Belt, Joseph Tucker and others who didn't feel that the people of the Middle Belt could become part of that north that would be governed by Sharia. So the Willings Commission did draw up a compromise in which Sharia was removed and a penal code in place as the basis of Middle Belt that could have been a region of its own at the time, becoming a part of Nigeria. And so when in year 2000, that fundamental compromise was toppled and Sharia imposed, it simply amounted to a secession from the secular union. And these are all the kind of things that changed, for which reason it was the contention of the nationalities that it was their exclusive business, like the owners of a company have the exclusive right to make their memo and article. It's not the hired management of a company that makes a memo and article. That is what it sounds like when National Assembly begins to say that they want, or the government begins to say that they want. So we went on from PRONACO, we agreed on what we could do, we had a draft. We went on in 2007 to go to court to say, look, we didn't make this constitution, to afford the government the opportunity to lead the process so that we can do it like South Africa did. They wouldn't listen. Things got worse. So by 2011, that MNN Lagos Declaration that by which these nationalities now came to say this constitution cannot be basis. So we're not anarchists, so we put in place a process by which the regional blocks will have to make out their own charters and constitutions ahead of when we go back to that discussion. And we've come every step of the way to where they subjected their decisions to some kind of ratification by solemn assemblies. It was when they had finished all those solemn assemblies that they came back in Lagos in 2018, December 11, to declare the Freedom Park Proclamation that now is being implemented from today. They decided that they will not go to any further elections under the constitution that made them slaves in their land. Okay. That's why we're gathered here today. So it's not a casual thing, and everybody in all the territories involved, had the opportunity. As recent as, 1 week ago, we just came back from the Middle Belt where we were concluding our discussions with people that we've done so in the East, we've done so in various parts of the West, overseas. People in the diaspora, we sat down with them in town halls across the various countries. So that's how we got to where we are now. It's not a casual thing that just began yesterday.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And please, somebody is inadvertently sharing their screen.
Okay. What's the problem? More online,
Mute your microphone.
You are not admitted to speak.
Please mute your microphone until you are admitted to speak. And host, please, I don't know who is sharing a white screen. Could you please keep people from sharing? Someone is sharing a white screen now. I think it's James Palm. James Palm, please unshare. Okay, thank you very much, please. Okay. That was a bit distracting, so I wasn't sure. Okay, so thank you very much, Tony. The summary is there's a lot of engagement. This is not a casual thing, like Tony just said. There's a lot of engagement, with the people, and this is a movement whose time has come. So we want to take a few questions. One is, and I think one pertinent question here for everybody is, people want to know, what is the next line of action after this declaration? What is expected of us as citizens? What next? Just very briefly, give us succinctly. And before Tony answers, I think that Johnny just confirmed, if people put in their mails, because I would like everybody on the call right now to get the text immediately. So if people put in their emails in the chat, Johnny, can you save them? Can you extract the emails, and so we can send out immediately? I can send out the text.
I can.
All right. So, okay, we'll save the chat and then extract the email. So everybody, put your email address, and then immediately after this event, you are going to get the text as it is, and we can begin to share. Ademola Akintoye says, Engineer Akintoye says, we, the indigenous nations within the fraudulent determined confines known as Nigeria in the South and Middle Belt, must all now fully cooperate in all possible facets of human life, security, economic policy, etc., to establish our sovereign will. All right, very good, excellent message, and that is why we are here today. So briefly, what next?
Right. Before I go to that, before I go to the what next, Professor Akintoye and the rest of the leadership of the alliance.
Ibrahim, what permission will send message,
Mr. Ibrahim, can you mute?
I just muted him. Host has just muted him.
Man.
Please let it be noted that this proclamation will be on all platforms, on Facebook, everywhere people can on Google, everywhere people can find information. It will be all over the place. There are millions of people already taking it on to spread. Our task is to take on it and spread it further. The leadership of the Alliance mandates me to announce to us that this proclamation of today, this sovereignty dispute proclamation of today, will be presented to the President of Nigeria, will be presented to the UN, will be presented to the US and European Union, and all of those who might be asking what's going on in Nigeria. And the various regional blocks in Nigeria, they have their all kinds of leadership. Everybody will have to, those who are fed up with Nigeria, those who are fed up with Nigeria, who now want to become countries of their own, this data will be presented to them to examine whether the answer to their problem is there. Those who want Biafra, those who want Odua Republic, those who want those who want to force control, those who say there should be good governance. The young people who went out to the streets the other time, this document is now in your hand. Everything you complained about, SARS and the police that shoot, the army that chase you around and leave the criminals and murderers from afar, all of the electricity you don't have, all of the quota system that put mediocrity ahead of excellence in your country, all of the infrastructure that will never be there because of exclusive lists, everything that has turned your life to what it is now, in which you are running to various parts of the world to become slave again all over. This document is in your hand. The solution to that situation is in this document. If we put our hands on it and insist on taking back our sovereignty that have been hijacked by Nigeria for 60 years and more, we'll get to that destination we seek. We only need to stop those who renew the life of the Constitution. The winner of any election, for those who may be saying, oh, let us go election and get it all right. The winner of any election will have to govern by the 1999 Constitution, which creates all these situations, like apartheid constitution is worse than apartheid. Now, the only way that constitution has survived for 21 years is that the life is renewed every 4 years by elections. Luckily for us, only political parties contest elections. And what happens is that because of what they get from going to contest the election, the senators, the governors, we know what they take home. The governors take billions every month. The senators take 50, 60 million, House members, everybody, managing Nigeria under this constitution that breeds corruption and protects the beneficiaries of corruption comprehensively beyond our reach. The only reason they want the constitution to remain the way it is, even in the midst of all our consensus, is because of that personal gain. And so it is within our reach, the rest of us, to insist that the political parties must close shop at this time. That's the only task left. Let us take the document, digest it, take it to our communities, take it to everywhere. Those from Nigeria who are stranded in all parts of the world, we travel quite around the globe, and we see our people slaving away the second time, being killed like people without homelands, just because their country is not working, for a country that sells 3 million barrels of crude oil. So we are saying that it is within our reach. What we have to do is to digest this information and spread it amongst our people. The action we need to take is to insist that the political parties must shut down any further preparations towards any elections, must close shop, so that we can go and rework the constitution by which the winner of any elections will have to go. If we do this, it won't take us 3 months to get to the end of all these problems. If we fail to do it, they will drag us to another election, have another 4 years, and we'll have ourselves to blame if they get another 4 years.
God forbid, because what I started, we're going to complete. Okay. Right. So there's just one comment. Just one very brief comment, Tony. I still want you to address it because it's coming up again. And then please just very, very briefly so that we can round off and then send it and people can start running with it.
Right.
Now, the question is, what is the next line? What can we do? Then somebody actually expanded on it. He said, suppose the Buhari or this government comes up with resistance and then they are whatever. What's that? They don't want this to end, just us talking about it. So what is the next? And
The
then-
owners, the right to self-determination is inalienable, according to the UN instrument on the subject. The remedy available to Nigerians today in all of what they are suffering is in self-determination. The constitution we have on the table today was imposed in negation of our self-determination. And what we need to do, what we need to do right now is to insist that this constitution cannot be basis of the union going further, and therefore anybody discussing election in your neighborhood is telling you, I want you to remain the slave you are. I want you to be available to be killed. I want you to operate without electricity. I want mediocrity to continue to rule over your excellence. And so it is within our reach to just face those political parties and tell them, this far, no more. To close shop. We don't need to go to any far place in all the street corners where they operate. The only reason they are there is that they are planning to take their turn in this robbery enterprise that Nigeria has become under this constitution. Nigeria has become a criminal enterprise.
All right, so I want to thank you very much, Tony.
One last item. All of those who may wish to be a part of this, from this evening, there will be opened an online petition in which everybody can become signatory to this document by just clicking in their names on that online petition. And there's a website already deployed to receive everybody who may want to know what's going on and want to participate. That website is called freedomfromnigeria.com. www.freedomfromnigeria.com. So the actions will include signing up to that petition, because we already have about 20 million people whose signatures have been processed for the UN, so that the whole world can see that we are together in making this demand. Let it also be noted that we are not anarchists. Our quarrel is not with the government. We are not asking them to leave government house. The 5 points of demand center around a plan for transitioning, an orderly transitioning away from the constitution of death towards the constitution of life, as we may determine in our sovereignty, in our right to self-determination. And therefore, just like South Africa did, before somebody comes saying that we want to come and take over, we are not interested. No, anybody who is interested in going to government house under this constitution is a criminal that is some people should try to stop from going to sell him to the enemy that wants to keep everybody in bondage. And so it is a matter of asking that we go the option Frederick de Klerk adopted for apartheid South Africa in 1990, to agree that we have not made a constitution, to agree that the one that is imposed is not working. Luckily, the National Assembly a few weeks ago owned up to the reality that the question of constitution making is beyond their powers. If the vice president of Nigeria in late September raised an alarm that the walls of Nigeria are cracked, we went on 2 days after to tell the country that those cracks are coming from the damaged constitutional basis. We are all trapped in that house. If we do not take this action when we can, that house will deteriorate progressively to when it falls on our head. And remember that the UN rapporteur that came in 2019, September, did turn in a report that the constitutional arrangement is like pressure cooker for injustice, and that it has become a danger to the global community. 200 million people that will be seeking refuge if Nigeria, erupts. We are in a position to stop that. It is within our reach to solve this problem, and we can put our hands to it and deliver an outcome in a matter of months.
Okay. All right. So I really want to thank every one of you, all the lead signatories to this proclamation today, and everyone who's been here. Again, if you haven't put your email on the chat, please do that, so that immediately after this, I'll show you that within 10 minutes after we end this proclamation, you are going to get the PDF copy of the proclamation. And I want to thank all of you who have come for this historic event and then who have stayed on, and to let you know that the engagement continues. The Alliance, there are different groups, and Tony is quite accessible. I've also seen Daughters of the Truth here, and a couple of other people. I've seen Heritage Television there. They have a YouTube channel that's got a lot, hours and hours of dozens of hours of materials that Tony has put up there with Heritage Television. So you can also check them on YouTube and check their website. And then there's also the Lower Niger Congress Media YouTube channel. There is also the Facebook, where you can hear a lot more. Okay, so let the conversation continue.
Hello.
Ilanomo Odua.
Hello.
Website. So let's continue all these engagements, and please always come back, to us and come back to Tony.
Go to the website.
And to the website.
It's an interactive one. People will
yes, exactly. To keep engaged. And so I want to thank all of you for being here, and the conversation continues after this. Thank you very much indeed. God bless you. And thank God for this historic event that has happened today. And God bless you. You hear from us as soon as it's important to hear from us again. Okay, bye for now.
Yes. This is from Heritage TV.
Let's do it this way. We can move on to the Heritage TV UK as you synergize with the other media houses for a program to dissect what has been put on the table. The draft is already sent to your outfit and the other journalists and media houses present. Let us allow the other people to go, and then let every town hall, let every gathering everywhere, be centered on discussing this grand proposition that can solve this problem and end this bloodshed. Thank you all for your patience.
Thank you all very much, and thank you, Johnny from Houston.
Thank you.
Wow.
Heritage
That was
for UK, please.
That was very, very beautiful from everybody around the world. Nigeria is going down. We are going to dismantle it, because that is the way to do it. I want to thank everybody who has joined me on this program today. The program hasn't finished, because we have more to offer today on the program. Very soon I will be inviting all my panelists to join me on this program, where we can actually discuss things and go forward on this program today. I want to thank everybody who is still online with me. While we're going to bear with me for some few seconds to bring in my guest for the second part of the program, I hope you're going to bear with me quickly. We're going to try and do that as a matter of urgency. So please listen, gentlemen, bear with me. If you want to ask questions, come on Heritage Television. We're starting question time on Heritage now, yeah, guys. We're starting question time on Heritage Television now, sir. The meeting has ended. We're going to start question time on Heritage Television right away, sir. We're starting on Heritage Television now. Okay, I'm sorry for that. People are just asking some few questions, and the best way to go forward Okay, I'm so sorry for being quiet there. I'm just trying to work out how to bring my guest in quickly because I hope you guys can hear me in the outside world. If you can hear me, please let me know as a matter of urgency. One of my sisters is calling me. 1 second, please. Yeah, 1 second, please. Sorry for that. We just have to do things. Maybe we should probably take commercial so that during the commercial I can finish doing what I need to do quickly, and I will see you guys in the next few seconds. Yeah, I should see you guys in the next few seconds. So let's take some few commercials, and then we'll take it from there.
Everybody in London, have you heard that Heritage Television has come up with something new? All your functions and celebrations can now be multi-camera live stream that was only reserved for the rich and famous. Having a function in London can be viewed clean and clear immediately from any part of the world. Trust Heritage TV to give you a better reach. Heritage Television also does photography that will make you the envy of all your friends and family. Heritage Television is the best. All your functions like birthdays, funerals, weddings, church anniversaries or harvest. Heritage Television is the master. We are in the heart of London with an ultra-modern equipped studio. You can call us on 020-800-46100 or email us info@heritagetv.co.uk or mobile 0734 1234 560. Heritage Television will do you proud.
A very good afternoon to you guys. I want to welcome you back to the second part of the program, Force Majeure. One of the things we need to actually analyze is what is meant by this force majeure and all the other things. My panel, I'm still waiting for all of them to come in. They should be coming in shortly, and as soon as they're all here, even if one of them is there, I will try as much as possible to start the program, the ball rolling, while we're waiting for the other one. You know, they are from different part of the world. I'm sorry, my eyes are going right and left. What I want to probably emphasize is, please, wherever you're watching the program from, whichever platform you're watching it from Quakey Media to Crystal African TV, from all the social media platform, Citizen Y, Odudua TV, all of us, David Hamilton Voices, anywhere you're watching it from, please like that platform because you're going to get more. Some of the questions we will be asking later on is, how do we get to this stage in a simple term? How do they get to the stage of actually declaring a force majeure? We will try and analyze the meaning of force majeure and what exactly is does this alliance want? What the people that are actually declaring this force majeure, what did they actually want? Because that is very, very important. We want to know what people want so that we know how to analyze it and how to take it from there. We just don't want to say this is what we want or this is what is going on and then leave it like that. No, we don't want to do that. What we want to do is to say this is what they want. So I will be speaking with George Akinola and Tony Nandi, and we will probably bring Professor Banji Akintoye as well on this show as well. We will bring Mogaji Boyega Adejuma, one of the very, very big important people. We will probably hear. Can you hear me, guys? If you can hear me, oh, it said okay now. No sound, okay now. Okay, that's it. So we bring some few people in, and how can we solve this problem? We're now in force majeure. Things that happen that prevent you from honoring your side of the contract has happened. It's happened so many times. So, and what do we need to do now? What do we need to do now? So, while I'm waiting for my guys to come in, I want to thank you again for being with us, for staying with us, for being part of this show, because nobody can do this alone. Nobody can do this alone. And I mean, nobody can do this program alone. So as soon as I bring all the parties involved in, I will like to take every question that everybody might have. I'm going to make the microphone for a second to speak to my uncle. Yes, I know you can hear me. I know you can hear me because I mute the sound to organize things. Yeah, I know. I'm going to mute the sound so that I can put everything together because it's gonna continue. You know, we were on that side. We're on that side of the planet before. Now we're moving to this side of the planet, and everything needs to go in synchronization. So I'm gonna mute it again while I put everything together. I want to thank everybody for being with us. Thank you very much. Yeah, hold on, guys. Guys, welcome back. I really want to thank you, appreciate you for your time this morning. I really want to appreciate you. I cannot fault anything that you guys are doing. We're getting there bit by bit, even though I'm still having issue of bringing these gentlemen in. They are still on the other part of the world. They just finished one. They're just trying to run another one. So let's go through this one a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. Force majeure. I will open the line so that you can ask me any question. I'll try my best. I'll try my best to answer as many questions as I can answer from you guys. But I'm sure, I think I'm competent enough. I'm competent enough to actually answer so many questions, most of your questions. So if you want to start showing it now, sending it now. The lines are open at last. Come on, let's get some questions. Force majeure is the one we're probably going to treat first. What is force majeure? How did we get there? In the first case, what actually happened? How did it go? How did it get there? And things like that. That is some of the things we might have to treat quickly. In simple terms, force majeure. In simple terms. When you say force majeure, what does it mean? What does it entail? We all been saying that Nigeria is actually a contract that exists initially between the North and the South, and then later on they break it and add more regions to it. They break some regions into two, so if it's a contraction understanding agreement that we have to a union, like a marriage. Some people call it forced marriage. Some people say anything they like. I don't think it was a forced marriage. I think it was a trading contract, that the British put together. So let's break this one down. What is force majeure clause? Force majeure clause are a contractual clause which alter parties' obligation and or liability under a contract when an extraordinary event or circumstances beyond their control prevent one or all of them from fulfilling those obligations. That is when force majeure can come in. I've seen some company in England applying for force majeure in their contract because of COVID-19, and this has let them get away from either they rent a property, a business property, and because of COVID-19, they were unable to pay the rent for that building. And if the volume is okay now, guys, let me know. Let me know if the volume is okay now. Nigeria is not a country; it's a contraction. Yeah, that's what they said. That is what everybody said. But it was something the British put together when they want to make their own life easy. But they didn't put it together because they want to make our life easy. They want to make their life easy. They hold some money in some part of the world, and they're messing about in some part of the world. The North is costing them unnecessary money. The house is making so much money, and then they now find out, let's put these two people together so that we'll use them to balance their own book themselves instead of putting our own money into it. And that is exactly what happens. And they did that. They didn't look into so many things. They look into some few things. The few things they look into now becomes a problem after independence. And the problem continues and continues and continues, and it becomes a very, very big issue. The issue is what we're facing today. We're still facing it. It's not. I don't think it's ever gonna go. Ever gonna go away. I don't think so. I want to be independent from Nigeria and operate with full human consciousness, be befitted of born to rule, bereft of born to rule mentality, and from those who has no merit, honor, and humanity and philosophy of true societal governance. I want to be free from conquest mentality. Everybody wants to be free from that. I'm dying. Another one say, please kindly help me with 5,000 or any amount for my drug and medical test. I'm dying in deep severe agony pain due to lack of money for drug and treatment, which leads to loss of sleep and devastation. We'll come and deal with that one later on. I think I have a company soon. I have a company. A gentleman in the name, I'm not going to tell you his name because I don't know whether he's going to make it in. His first time on the show. It's very tempting sometimes, especially when you're going somewhere for the first time. It's very tempting sometimes. So we don't know yet whether the gentleman is going to make it in or not. So let's give him some more time to do that. So guys, I want to thank you again for joining me on this program. Is lost of voice? No, my voice is back. I think my voice is back. I believe my voice is back. Don't tell me my voice is not there because I'll cry. I'll shed tears. Okay, Uncle, I can see you, but you need to make it landscape. You need to make the camera landscape. I can see you. You need to make the camera landscape. I'm not sure if you authorize your audio. If you can hear me, nod your head if you can hear me, sir. Okay, I think your audio is there now. Okay, turn the camera sideways.
I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, turn the camera sideways, sir. Sideways. Okay, fantastic. So my first guest is here. So what I'm going to do, we're just gonna start with this, my first guest, so that he knows a lot as well like me. We're both in the same boat when it comes to the amount of things that this gentleman knows. There's so many people now in the know-how in this struggle, and we're just getting there bit by bit. So Mr. Alagbala, if you want to give me a couple of more minutes, I will be introducing you to my audience in a minute. In the meantime, I haven't fixed this one properly, so let me quickly fix this one quickly, and then we take it from there. I'm just gonna try and rule over this one. No, it didn't do that. So let me try and fix this man here, because this man doesn't like to be fixed, and we have to fix it. He doesn't like to be fixed, but we have to fix it. So what I'll do in the meantime, I'll just operate a one-on-one signal with this gentleman. Mr. Alagbala, welcome to the show. Can you please introduce yourself to my audience today, sir? People watching us, could you please introduce yourself? Who are you, sir?
My name is simply Gani Alagbala. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Heritage, for everything you do. I'm simply a Yoruba man, just like yourself. I don't know what else you want me to say about myself. So,
okay, simple term is simply a Yoruba man. Constitutional force majeure is a goal. All attempt to carry on with the plan 2019 should be truncated. Justice. Thank you very much. Wow, we have a justice in the house, so you have to behave yourself, guys. Otherwise, you're gonna get into trouble. Oh, okay. The program today, how successful was it, sir?
I think it was a success in the sense that we have many regions in Nigeria that are facing most of the problems that were highlighted. And the fact that most of the regions that are affected by all this can come together and declare something like this, I think it was a success. I think it's high time. The Yoruba people said, "Yojuban shaking," meaning when there's something in your eyes, I don't know what you call it, no cost, whatever. It is better that you show the problems to the eye. So I think this is a very good way of telling the Nigerian government that the people are serious about their present predicament and they are willing to do something about it, not just overlook it, not just go with the status quo. And it was a success. It was a success.
Okay, it was a brilliant success. And people were asking us, what is next? What do we go? Where do we go from here? One of the things that was said is that they're going to send it to so many international community, the force majeure, especially when people get to understand the meaning. Like I break down the meaning before, and I thank Justice for actually saying we were calling it force majeure, but he said it's actually called constitutional force majeure. It's a goal, and the goal is to say we can't obligate, we can't follow this through anymore. We're tired of this. If everybody is tired of this constitution, what's preventing them from taking it down, Mr. Alagbala? That we have to go this way.
Actually, I think it's about the people's awareness, because we always have to go back to history in order to get good education for people. And what do I mean by the history? This whole universe, we believe that was created by God, and we know how people came to this world simply, and we know the history of man. Whether you're a scientist or a religion person, you know that we all started from one place. We, the religious people, we believe that it's Adam and Eve that was created, and we believe that they are the first man and woman, and of course then there's children, and then the world starts to grow and evolve. So what we have today as a system of government clearly developed from somewhere, and that's where I'm going to. So this was all put in place at a time by people. Like what we have locally, we have the chiefs and the small communities. In Yoruba land, then we have the kings, the obas, and the whole days. And it all develops to what we have now when the British came. But the point I'm trying to make here is it always drives back to the people. Whether it's in the old days where you have obas and the chiefs that are managing the affairs of the community, nobody will force you, unless you are a slave, not a freeborn, to go into a community and abide by their rule. And what is even better is when all this modernization came into the system of governing people and society, democracy is one of the best. So democracy is a process whereby we know everybody cannot rule their affair, but they will elect some people, and those people will constitute what we call the government. And then they will be responsible for the affairs of the people. It's as simple as that. Now, it is not for the government to now decide how these people want to be governed. For example, in the old days, if we in our society says stealing is forbidden in this society, it is a rule that we will all agree on as a society, and then when we constitute our government or our chief or our obas, then these obas will now force this rule that we all said stealing is not permitted in our society. It's as simple as that. So if we now bring it to this modern complicated term, what I'm saying in essence is this: it is not up to the government that will constitute, or the government that was elected, to go and make the rules to constitute what we call the constitution for these people they are governing, because there is no balance there. So in other words, if you hire a manager for your company to manage your company, it is not up to that manager to now give you the rules and how, is going to govern that place. Because what in essence will happen is they can be biased. So it is the people that will form the constitution, the owners of the land, the people that this constitution is going to represent. For instance, we have places where they have different system of government. It is not that government that was put in place that came and formed that system for them. It is the people that said, we want communism, we want socialism, we want democracy system. How do we want it? Who and who is involved in this? What is our boundaries? What is our weather? What is our territory? The system of government. How many people do we need? How do we relate to this, the local government, which is the most important aspect of government? As minute as we look at them, as one of the lower part of the pyramid, the local governments are the closest to the grassroots and the people. And the people are the one we're governing over. So, in essence, this is exactly what is expected. For people to come around and say, this is our land, and this is how we choose to be governed, and then elect people to go and abide by those rules of governance, to go and abide by those constitutions. That is a normal day. Because then what happened in the society is, if anybody was to break a rule, or anybody was to go against the set rules and not, we can all come together and say, if you don't want to live in this rural area, in this community, in whatever we have here, you are free to go, because this is the rule we all agreed on, and we have to respect it. But what you have in Nigeria is not the case. Initially, it was the case. We have our local obas. We have the Oyo empires. We have different empires in Nigeria. Then the British came with a supposed better system. And that better system developed from colonization and all that, and then we have democracy. But look, let's go back to the time where they're living. When they were living, the question was, what did we people agreed on then? And I think that is the beginning, the genesis of this problem. And we all know the answer. The forefathers, the ones that fought for independence, they must have seen something. A lot of things that we are now seeing that were different in so many ways, yet we want to live together. So there has to be some check and balance. There has to be some uniformity somewhere where there's a mutual respect and agreement that can be enforced, that will work together. And I think they came up with the idea that we have regional government. So that is what is called federation. So what we have in place, in essence, is actually totally against what we're calling it. If anybody can Google or research what the true federation means, it's all this nation coming together under a federation. So, but what we have right now is a unitary system. What we have right now, recently President Buhari just announced I think a single treasury account. What is federation in that? When all the region has to put their money in one account and somebody can come and manage it the way the other regions do not want. And the result of that is what you're seeing. So the result of that is when a Yoruba man now goes, as they are saying, oh, let's circulate it, there must be a problem for you to say in a nation, in a country, you are now talking about rotational government, whereas you think, oh, it is the Igbo's time, it is the Yoruba time, it is the Hausa time. Then there's a problem, because we are no longer chosen by the merit by the words of our elected officers. But we're now saying whether it's a crook or not, as long as it's a Yoruba, it is their turn. So what you will have in place is a Yoruba man now taking the turn and going to the Abuja or whatever their head of the government is in Aso Rock, and then chase away all the Hausas there and put his people. And they will do it and say, oh, we've been marginalized for 8 years. So they will work for Yorubas. So it will no longer be a president of Nigeria by Nigerian for Nigeria, but president of Yoruba for the Yorubas by the Yorubas. And the next time what you will have is the Igbos' turn. And then they will come in there and say, oh, we've been waiting for 16 years, it's our turn. So in essence, you have what they call insanity. It's doing the same thing and expecting a different result. What you have in place is a system of insanity in Nigeria. And this is the cause of all that. Because we know who we are. As a Yoruba man, I don't like Hausa food. There are certain food that Igbos will eat that I don't like. That is why they constituted a federation whereby I can manage certain affairs of my region. But what you have right now would never work. It's madness. It's a fraud, like we all know. It was a government that was hijacked by the military, and it developed to what we have today. Otherwise, they should come and tell us, where did the people sit down and wrote a constitution? Like in America, they said, we the people. We know the people that were elected to go and constitute and write constitution. We know what we have pre-independent and post-independent. We know what happened after the coup in 1966, and we know who wrote the 1999, supposedly some kind of amendment, constitution, whatever. And it is now we the people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate the way you break it down, that they said the constitution, one of the fundamental problem with it is that it said we the people, and it's got nothing to do with we the people, because the people didn't sit down to write it. And if you want to see a clean test of this, if you go on YouTube, Heritage Television YouTube channel, you will see a lot of things there in which we have actually break down so many things that might help you understand things better. We the people agree to give out our sovereign to people that does not have our interest at heart. And I like the point you emphasize, that they always say is Yoruba turn, is Igbo turn. People are not governing Nigeria that we are currently in, that we want to come out of on merit. They just want to govern because they want to govern, not because they're fit to govern. Because if they're fit to govern, some set of people will get there, and some people will never get there because they don't even have a clue. Nigeria is a state where illiterate are ruling the educated ones. Nigeria, they call it, okay, rotational presidential will have work only if the foundation was honest. It can never work. Rotation doesn't work. You should give the government to people who deserve it, people who merit it, people who can do it, people who have the ability, the capability, the technical know-how of how to do it, not because it's from my house. Okay, my uncle is not getting in, so let me try and forward him some few information. It's been some time since he tried to use it last time. First of all is that you cannot use, it's not technically easy to use an iPhone, but if you're using an iPhone, that's not the end of the world. 1 second, guys. Let's go on a short commercial break while I fix this, my brother's thing. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody in London, have you heard that Heritage Television has come up with something new? All your functions and celebrations can now be multi-camera live stream that was only reserved for the rich and famous. Having a function in London can be viewed clean and clear immediately from any part of the world. Trust Heritage TV to give you a better reach. Heritage Television also does photography that will make you the envy of all your friends and family. Heritage Television is the best. All your functions like birthdays, funerals, weddings, church anniversaries or harvest. Heritage Television is the master. We are in the heart of London with an ultra-modern equipped studio. You can call us on 020-800-46100 or email us info@heritagetv.co.uk or mobile 0734 1234 560. Heritage Television will do you proud.
I want to welcome you back to the show. I'm still fighting right, left, and center to bring my guest in because I think they've been sitting down for so long today, so they're tired. But still, we're all committed to making this work. So it has to work. It has to work. No matter what we do, it will work. We're just gonna have to try our best a little bit more. And I want to thank everybody who has been watching us, who is still going to watch us, and who are still going to do things with us later on in the show. I have currently in the house Gani Alagbala. He's a behind the scene man. But today I managed to drag him out from the back and put him in the front. Look at him sitting in the driving seat today, which is very, very comfortable for him. I want to say a very big thank you to you, Mr. Alagbala, for honoring this invitation again. I really appreciate that. But in the meantime, let me try and get hold of some people. I'm going to run the advert again. I'm going to run it longer this time around so that I can manage to bring the rest of the people into the show. Just stay tuned, please. We'll be right back.
Everybody in London, have you heard that Heritage Television has come up with something new? All your functions and celebrations can now be multi-camera live stream that was only reserved for the rich and famous. Having a function in London can be viewed clean and clear immediately from any part of the world. Trust Heritage TV to give you a better reach. Heritage Television also does photography that will make you the envy of all your friends and family. Heritage Television is the best. All your functions like birthdays, funerals, weddings, church anniversaries or harvest. Heritage Television is the master. We are in the heart of London with an ultra-modern equipped studio. You can call us on 020-800-46100 or email us info@heritagetv.co.uk or mobile 0734 1234 560. Heritage Television will do you proud. Everybody in London, have you heard that Heritage Television has come up with something new? All your functions and celebrations can now be multi-camera live stream that was only reserved for the rich and famous. Having a function in London can be viewed clean and clear immediately from any part of the world. Trust Heritage TV to give you a better reach. Heritage Television also does photography that will make you the envy of all your friends and family. Heritage Television is the best. All your functions like birthdays, funerals, weddings, church anniversaries or harvest. Heritage Television is the master. We are in the heart of London with an ultra-modern equipped studio. You can call us on 020-800-46100 or email us info@heritagetv.co.uk or mobile 0734 1234 560. Heritage Television will do you proud.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for being patient. It's good to be patient. The good thing is that we might have to change tactics a little bit because I think they're having some technical issues connecting from my other guests. 3 of them are having a very, very difficult time in connecting. So we might have to reschedule it to about 6 o'clock when things will have been resolved. I'm going to have to work with them tirelessly to make sure it happens. What I want to do is that I have a couple of these caps to give away on the program now in the next 10 minutes. In the next 2 minutes, I have a couple of these art to give out for Majeure, to give out for free. You're not even paying for postage, but you have to be in England. That is the downside. That is the bad side to it. If you think you want to be like Mr. Alagbala, who is in America, that will win this art, stop it. You're wasting your time. So this competition is only for people in England. Even if you're watching it from any platform, to make sure we reward people who has been working hard in the past. So anybody that knows when Heritage Television joined the struggle, please type it in the comments. No, send it to me by text. If you know when Heritage Television joined the struggle, send it to me by text on Heritage WhatsApp, which means you must have known about Heritage WhatsApp already. If you know when Heritage joined the struggle and how Heritage joined it, when and how Heritage joined the struggle, you will get a t-shirt. You get the face cap for free, including postage. We will send it to you, posted free. I'm looking for 2 people to win that. I'm gonna mute you for a second. 1 second, sir. I've just unmuted the microphone back. Match. Wow, match. Did you get it right? I think you did get it right. I think you get it right. You get it very right. Even if you don't get it right, I will still take that as a right. You get it a little bit wrong, so I will still take it as a right. So could you inbox me directly your address and I will send the cap to you. So one more cap to go. one more cap to go. One more face cap to go. One more face cap to go. One more face cap to go. If you know when we join, send it to me directly, the answer, and then we see how it goes. Okay, I think I got the other answer now. So the 2 cap are gone. The 2 cap are gone. So thank you very much for sending. Okay, it's 1 gun. 1 gun. 1 gun. Not 2. Not 2. Not 2. 1 cap is gone. So now we're waiting for the other cap to go. So if you know when Heritage Television joined the struggle, right? And I will send you a cap. I got the other answer. I got the second person answer, but sorry, that was wrong. I got another answer. That was wrong as well. That was wrong. I got 3 answers wrong now. So 1 is right. So the other 3 are wrong. So I still have 1 more cap left. I didn't want the actual date, but the month. The month. I will give it to you as a month. I will give it to you as a month. If you remember the month, if you know the month when Heritage Television joined the struggle, you're gonna have a face cap on us, free of charge, postage paid, postage included. We will pay the postage as well, and then we take it from there. Still waiting for 1 more answer, and when it's 14:08, the line will be closed in 14:08. So which means there is no more answer to be taken. There won't be no more answer to be taken. I don't think you get it right. Another answer has just come in. So I don't think. Let me just have a look at that answer. The other answer that just come in is wrong as well. So I'm sorry, you're wrong as well. So you're wrong as well. You're wrong as well. So you're wrong as well. You're still wrong. You're still wrong. That fellow is still wrong. I would have said I want to give a t-shirt, one of these t-shirt out as well. I would have said, but if you cannot even get this one, if I ask you a bigger question, you're not gonna get it right. So, as I was saying, these guys are having problem connecting, maybe because they know what we want to discuss already. So the whole world is panicking about what we want to discuss. The whole world is panicking about what we want to discuss already. So maybe that is the reason they cannot get in. But that is not the end of the world. That is not the end of the world. Okay, I think I will be calling it a day here if you don't get it now, because can we just do it later? Okay, so what we're gonna do is let's come back 6 o'clock UK time and do this program. I will have been able to fix all these people's problems. Let's come back at 6 o'clock, and I will be sending out the flyer a bit later on so that we know what we're doing 6 o'clock. I want to thank Mr. Alagola for his effort. I want to thank you guys for your effort in joining me today on this program. It's been a wonderful session on the show today, because when I said I've enjoyed myself to the maximum, I have actually enjoyed myself. From me and my team all over the world, wherever they might be in the whole world, in the whole universe, I want to say a very big thank you for joining us today. And please keep sharing that program. Like whatever platform you're watching it from, make sure you like it there, because it's very important that you like it there. You make the platform goals as well. That will make it even better. So later on today, I will have Tony, I will have Georgia Kela, I have Boyga Dejumo, I have Yola Great Key, I have Mr. Adamoleko, I have 3 more people from England as well that we're gonna rotate. We might probably have Alex Ajala, Baba Ajala as well on the show. So from me and my beautiful team all over the world, making this possible for you and for us to come to you, I want to say a very big thank you all. Goodbye. See you in the evening.
Everybody in London, have you heard that Heritage Television has come up with something new? All your functions and celebrations can now be multi-camera live stream that was only reserved for the rich and famous. Having a function in London can be viewed clean and clear immediately from any part of the world. Trust Heritage TV to give you a better reach. Heritage Television also does photography that will make you the envy of all your friends and family. Heritage Television is the best. All your functions like birthdays, funerals, weddings, church anniversaries or harvest. Heritage Television is the master. We are in the heart of London with an ultra-modern equipped studio. You can call us on 020-800-46100 or email us info@heritagetv.co.uk or mobile 0734 1234 560. Heritage Television will do you proud.